This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey now, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another Friday, chilly edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Michael Remis in the host chair today for Hustler. How's it going, everyone in chat? Hey, if you're here, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe. Again, it tells YouTube we're putting out a great show and might show it to some more people. Show it to the podcast listeners as well. More available now, more quickly than the last year on podcasts. So if you're on YouTube, make sure to check out the podcast too for anything you may have missed. You're probably wondering, where's Hustler? He's on his way home from Kansas City. Just watched the Chiefs advance to their seventh straight AFC Championship game. Aren't we sick of the Chiefs? Aren't we? Well, I'm sure you'll be hearing lots more about them from Hustler and his trip when he gets back tomorrow. But after seemingly being home forever, the Winnipeg Jets' season-long homestand ended. They went 4-2-2. I think should be happy with collecting 10 of a possible 16 points. Highlights for me: the win over Colorado, complete domination over Vancouver, the tight checking game in versus LA, and Dylan DeMello's last-second winner on Thursday night for WST night. We were talking about that, just how exciting that was. Big numbers, actually, for the show on Friday. But it feels like they maybe left a couple points on the table, losing in overtime to Anaheim, or on Saturday, just a great performance, but not able to beat the big bad wolf that is Dustin Wolf, the Flames goalie. And the game against Detroit certainly was probably the worst one. But hey, the Jets still first place. We're more than halfway through the season. And now they're off to Utah. First game ever for the Winnipeg Jets franchise at Salt Lake City. So we're going to touch on that throughout the show. NFL playoffs as well. Some big games this weekend. Divisional playoff round, way better quality of football than the wild card round. I think we can say that adding the extra wild card certainly decreases the quality of football in round one. Going to be joined in a sec by Connor Hrabchak. You saw him here Friday on the show, yesterday morning with the WST Sunday crew. Check that out if you haven't. They do a great job Sunday mornings at 9. That's why you want to have your notification bell on so you get the alert when they go on. And yes, Jets Weekly as well. A nice little recap of the weekend Jets news and games that Connor does. Comes out every Monday morning here on our channel and on podcast. We'll be chatting with Kansas City Chiefs hater Jamie Thomas of Jets TV. I know he's messaging me. He's got the NFL takes, but he also hosts Ground Control podcast and the Check-In, him and Sarah. And Mike McIntyre is in Salt Lake City. He's at Jets practice. So I'm excited to hear what Mike has to say about his first visit to Salt Lake, and he's going to check that box off on his bingo card of NHL arenas. And I'm going to be joined by Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports for some great discussion on NFL. But first, before we bring in Connor, big shout out to all the sponsors. Hey, without these guys, without the sponsors, wouldn't be here today. Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, Princess Auto, Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, Fans First, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, and the Winnipeg Jets. We had a great night at WST night on Thursday for the Kraken game. Join us Friday, February 7 for the next one against the Islanders. winnipegjets.com/WST for ticket info. And I'll do mention as well, we're giving away tickets to Thursday's Moose game, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Enter in there. And just reading the chat, in Eilers We Trust is Huss okay? Yeah, he's just on his way home. The guy can't take a day off to travel to KC without people wondering if he's okay. They had a bit of they broke it up into parts. It's a long drive. I've done it, 14 hours. And, get to stop in some U.S. towns. But the Winnipeg Jets losing Saturday to the Flames 3-1. The story, certainly Eric Comrie, his 8th consecutive loss. The Jets have scored a total of 12 goals in his past 8 starts. I had mentioned heading into that game against LA, Eric Comrie on the game log, a bit too many games with 3 goals against. I think there was 1-4, but it was consistently 3. I said, hey, he needs to put up some 2s or 1s as a backup to give the Jets a chance to win if they're not going to score goals for him. Allowed 1 goal in regulation against LA, 2 against Calgary. He's doing his part, but it's up to the Jets to do their part and put some goals on the board for him. Adam Lowry got the tip in. You look at the expected goals, 4.53 to 2.02 for the Jets, 5-on-5 high danger chances, 13-3 for the Jets Saturday. They almost doubled them in shot attempts, 67-35. Nikolai Ehlers, 5 shots on goal, including when one of those was he had a post on a breakaway. He had 11 attempts. The Jets put shot after shot on Dustin Wolf, but not able to beat him. And I think disappointing that Comrie couldn't get a win. But hey, if you keep playing that way, the wins will come. And I don't know, maybe it was the first time the Jets, you could say, they got goalied. So disappointing finish. But hey, they go to Utah, chance to get their first win. Let's talk to Connor. He's been around the arena, been doing Sunday Live. He's all over what's going on with the Jets and everything else. Connor, what's going on? How are you feeling? You staying warm? I see you got the hoodie on there.
Yeah. I made the last minute audible to go to the hoodie, but I'm doing great. Staying warm today. Great weekend of not only the Jets game on Saturday. I know they didn't get the win, but we had the game Thursday, like you said, WST night, and then a great day of football yesterday with the Rams and Eagles and the Bills and the Ravens. 2 really good games. So I'm fired up to be here. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, and I did mention Saturday country night. I saw, I couldn't be in attendance, but I saw pictures of Drew Mandel of Illegal Curve, actually, with his son wearing their matching cowboy hats. I know Gregory, number one chatter, sent me a picture of his cowboy hat. It looked like a nice thing. I wonder if country night regular thing now. Have a cowboy hat every year. Maybe I would look at the Saturday night Calgary game or whoever it is for country night. I don't know. Be nice to get one of those Jets cowboy hats. They were pretty cool, and maybe we could have a hat trick on cowboy night. But first, you have to score 3 goals as a team, and they were only able to get 1 on Saturday. But I'm pretty into some of the promotions that they've done. We had 90s hat giveaway, now country night.
Yeah, well, as soon as they announced Eric Comrie was the starter, you knew the Jets weren't going to get a hat trick because that's more than 1 goal, right? So that's just not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I said it on Sunday's show on WSC Sunday Live yesterday. I don't really think it was for a lack of trying. The Jets had 84 shot attempts in this game, which is their season high. Their previous season high was 73 in all situations shot attempts. So that includes the power play as well. I know you brought up the 5-on-5 stats earlier, but they were throwing every single puck on net, 38 scoring chances between the power play and 5-on-5. I mean, they just absolutely got goalied. And I said it on Jets Weekly that came out this morning. If you were wondering what it's like to play against Connor Hrabchak, I think Saturday night was a pretty good Connor Hrabchak impersonation by Dustin Wolf. He was all over every puck. There was little to no rebounds on a lot of the chances as well. And when there was a rebound, Calgary did a good job maybe boxing the Jets out. The Jets just couldn't get to it, get that second chance. And their 1 goal was a high deflection with a screen in front. I think if there was one thing to nitpick about this performance, maybe it's that the Jets didn't get bodies in front of the net, didn't take away Dustin Wolf's eyes, because when he was seeing everything and it was unscreened and untipped, he was saving everything, and the Jets really couldn't beat him despite 84 shot attempts thrown his way.
In the last week and a bit, we've seen Scott Arniel, after never changing the lines all year. We saw some, we saw at the beginning of the week, they went with the Ehlers, Lowry, Iafallo, Niederreiter, Kupari, Perfetti, but he switched it up there in the third period. Velarde with Lowry and Ehlers, and Lowry and Ehlers have kind of become a pair with Mason Appleton out, and certainly Ehlers was all over the ice on Saturday and set up that game-winning goal there on Thursday as well. And then we saw Alex Iafallo with Scheifele and Connor. What did you think of him switching up the lines, and was that something you'd like to see more of going forward?
I liked it, and the Velarde, Lowry, Ehlers trio was really, really good. And I thought also to further that point, the Ehlers, Lowry, Iafallo trio has been really good for 3 or 4 games now. One thing that I did find interesting is that they broke up the top line, and they didn't have a strong performance on Thursday night against the Kraken. They weren't really going, like Scheifele had the power play goal, but I'm talking about at 5-on-5. Saturday night, they weren't really going as well. They were generating a lot, but like I said, not getting into maybe the tough areas. And then they switched Velarde off of that line, and that line's kind of been untouchable this year because they've been so good at times. But one thing that when they moved Iafallo up there, and you kind of start turning the wheels on, okay, if that spot is open, what about a guy like Cole Perfetti on the top line? If you want to get him going, put him next to Connor and Scheifele and see what they can do. The possibilities kind of open up if the top line isn't set in stone. And it was interesting to see them flip in the third period. But just real quick on Ehlers and Lowry, regardless of their third line mate over this last 4 games, whether it's Velarde or Iafallo, they've outscored their opponents 3-1. The scoring chances with them on the ice are 27-10, and the high danger chances are 15-6. All of those in the Jets' favor. So I know we're going to talk about the lineup tonight in Utah, but that line is staying together. Ehlers, Lowry, Iafallo, and I think that's a great idea because that line has been fantastic at 5-on-5 and maybe the Jets' best line over the last 4 games. Yeah,
Adam Lowry's a guy, on his line is always good possession numbers, always has the puck, in the other team's end, and Nikolai Ehlers is a guy who plays great with the puck. And Scott Billeck actually mentioned this on this show months ago, saying, maybe when he plays with Scheifele and Connor, he'll defer to them a bit more in terms of passing. But when he's playing with Adam Lowry, he knows he's the guy who's the goal scorer on line. I mean, Adam Lowry's doing a pretty good job scoring goals for, as far as on his way to a career high. He's got 11 so far. But Nikolai Ehlers, he's the point per game guy. He's the goal scorer. And maybe he'll take more of an initiative taking the puck to the net, but had a lot of chances, wasn't able to beat, I say the big bad wolf. I read a lot of kids stories at home, so 3 Little Pigs comes up. But here's Scott Arniel from Saturday on the loss to Calgary.
He was good. He made some stops, obviously. I thought we could have got inside a little bit more on him, but at the end of the day, he played big. He made, we had almost tripled him in chances, and we had a lot of quality ones too, and he made the stops.
So in that sense, obviously disappointed with the final result, but was that as close to kind of a template of Jets hockey that a lot to pick apart?
We seem to score in a lot of those situations, and especially with that much volume, and kind of our forecheck really led to a lot of that stuff, and we got our zone time again. Everything about it. Go looking back at the analytics of that one, and it's another one of those ones. Shoulda, coulda, we didn't though. We have to find a way. In those type of games, maybe get some greasy goals, get some kind of like what we got on Lau's goal on the deflection. So, no, I liked a lot of what we did. We did a lot of really good things. We didn't spend much time in our end of the rink. Gave up 5 chances. So, move forward on it, and hopefully, when we have those situations that much volume, that we find a way to score more than 1 goal.
Yeah, Connor, look at this. I did pull up the money puck shot map as we just finished. Have you seen this? Finished wrapping up our conversation.
I saw the deserve to win-o-meter, which was over 90% in the Jets' favor in that game against Calgary. It was somewhere in like 93%, and Calgary was 7. But yeah, I'm sure the shot map was pretty lopsided as well.
Yeah, let me pull it up here. Oh, here we are. Yeah, here's the shot. Look at all the Jets for podcast listeners. Big circles around the Flames net, in the slot, on the dots, and the Flames, their shot attempts, very sparse. area. I think they had, Coronado, really nice one-timer off the post, and Kuzmenko a zone entry on the power play, ripped one past Comrie, and they scored the empty netter from like their own end. So unfortunate ending. I've seen some comments saying Comrie, he's got to steal one for the Jets. I think he did. At a certain point, the Jets got a score for him. They scored 2 goals in his last 2 starts, or he's allowed 1 goal in regulation and 2 goals. He's back up. I think especially the last 2, he's done all he can, but haven't been able to get the offense. Connor, as mentioned, what is it? 12 goals in his last 8 starts on this 8-game losing streak. Here's Scott Arniel on Eric Comrie not able to get the W.
Yeah, that's a broken record. I have no idea why we can't score when he's in the net. We're highest scoring team in the league, and it just seems like we can't get him any run support. And he gives us a chance every night, and I don't know what it is. We just don't seem to score. I think we've only scored 10 or 11 goals, I think, when he's our last 8 games with him. So certainly needs to be better. That was one tonight where it wasn't a back-to-back. It wasn't a tough game for us in the sense of travel or anything like that. That was one there that you'd like to see us capitalize on all those chances that we had.
And just with that is the worry that someone like Eric is taking that too hard on himself and whatnot.
Yeah, he is taking it hard on himself, and he shouldn't, because he's giving us a chance every time he goes in there. So guys are great with him. They really are. They really are. And they know that they got to give him some run support, and hopefully we have one of these ones that breaks out big time where he can get him that win by us supporting him with some goals.
And just the last on that, but is the disappointment extra kind of difficult because of how beloved Eric is, and just his work ethic is praised his organization? Is that what you think is sticking?
He's extremely popular in a room. He's one of the last guys off the ice. He'll take shots with the guys until the very end, and he's loud. He's fun. He's real good. Him and Helly have a fantastic relationship. So honestly, the guys are just they're more upset that again we didn't get him a win.
There he is, Scott Arniel, talking about Eric Comrie, and the jokes are flying in chat that next game, I bet Comrie gets a shutout and the Jets lose 1-0 in a shootout. That's Julian there. So doesn't know what it is. The Jets, one of the top scoring teams in the league, not able to score when their backup goalie's in the net. But Connor, I think you got to feel pretty good about this homestand. I think maybe could have been a bit better. I mean, you can always find ways to critique yourself, but 4-2-2, first in the Central, 65 points. They played one more game than Dallas, who is 6 points back. So they're really in a good spot heading into this road trip as we're approaching the break. 9 games left until the Four Nations break. So I don't know. What did you think about the homestand that seemingly went on forever? January 2 is when it started.
Yeah, eight game homestand, and then 10 of their last 11 coming out of the holiday break. So they just had the one New Year's Eve road game and have been at home ever since. So there's been a lot of home games recently. But yeah, I thought the homestand was great. I thought since Dylan Samberg came back, I think was the best the Jets played. They had that tight game against LA, went to overtime. The 3-0 win over Colorado, which was one of their most impressive wins of the season, followed that up with a 6-1 win over Vancouver. The Seattle game, I thought they were the better team throughout and broke through with 27 seconds left, but Joey Decord kept that game close. And then Saturday night maybe was not their best, but they like I said, it wasn't for a lack of trying. They had a ton of chances, ton of shot attempts. Earlier in the homestand, the Anaheim game, maybe the Detroit game were the lowlights. But I think since Dylan Samberg came back, this team has either won their games convincingly or has outshot and outchanced their opponents convincingly, starting with that Saturday night game against Colorado. So I'm not going to get into the results of, they lost Saturday night, so they didn't, have a great homestand or anything like that. They still outshot and outchanced heavily the Calgary Flames. So that's just you hear coaches say all the time, the process over the results. That is a process game. If the Jets play that way, they'll win. Like the deserve to win-o-meter would say on Money Puck, probably 95% of those games. And 5-3-2 in their last 10. If you look at the Western Conference, Vegas right now, 4-6-0 in their last 10. They've lost 3 straight. Dallas, 7-3. Minnesota, 5-5. They've lost 3 straight. Colorado, 6-3-1. So they're kind of right around those division rivals in the West and in the Central Division. And these last 4 games, I thought they've played really, really well, regardless of whether they've won or lost.
Yeah, just pulling up the league standings here, Connor. This is all I don't think we do this enough. Admire the league standings. Or the Jets are second most points percentage, second points percentage behind Washington. I wouldn't have predicted that after they limped into the playoffs with a horrible goal differential. But yes, the Winnipeg Jets, number 1 in the league in goal differential, off to a great start and looking to keep it going. And wouldn't it be nice to see that Central Division, the elusive Central Division banner? Thought we were going to get one in 2019, maybe on their way last year, not quite, but they seem to be positioned very well as we head into a road trip. Not a lot of lineup changes. You mentioned Sandberg came back. One player who came back from injury on Saturday, Colin Miller, was out since the Detroit game earlier in the month. Puck to the throat, fractured larynx. How do you think Colin Miller did in his first game since January 4, playing 15:57 and sent Ville Heinola to the press box?
Yeah, and Dylan Coughlin down to the minors as well. And
Yes.
Hayden Fleury's also healthy, but not playing at least tonight or Saturday night, which we don't have to talk about that because we're not going to. We covered it plenty on WST Sunday Live. But I thought Colin Miller looked great. I mean, it was a really scary situation. And if you heard the comments of what he said, it sounded even scarier, that he kind of fell in the tunnel. He couldn't breathe for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then slowly was getting better, and the rehab process was 2 weeks. And it's just nice to see him healthy and back on the ice, and I thought he fared well. He has that booming shot from the point that maybe he didn't do enough of in that game, but like I said, the Jets had plenty of shot attempts, and when he was on the ice, they were winning their shot attempts, winning their battles, and I thought he fared well against Calgary, and we'll see how he does tonight because he's projected to be in the lineup, at least according to Mike McIntyre, who's on the road, going to be on the show here in a bit, alongside Logan Stanley on that third pair. And the Jets' defense score has looked better since Sandberg has come back. He's stabilized that second pairing. Josh Morrissey, I thought, played really, really well on Saturday night. That's a broken record because Josh Morrissey seems like he plays well every night. But the defense score is kind of coming into shape as everyone's healthy here. And the fourth pairing, if you will, the 2 scratched players are healthy, Fleury and Heinola, and we'll see if they get in to any of these games coming up here.
Yeah, Mike McIntyre is at Delta Center in Salt Lake City. We do have the lines from the practice. Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, Ehlers, Lowry, Iafallo, and look who's on line 3. Nino Niederreiter with Vladislav Nemestikov and Cole Perfetti. David Gustafsson with Kupari and Barron. And the extras, Tony Nato and Appleton. Appleton, a regular jersey. Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, Stanley, Miller, third pair, and Fleury, Heinola, the fourth pair. Connor Hellebuyck going to get the start. But how about Nemestikov coming back on that third line? I guess we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But they've got a nice balance here in the top 3 lines.
Yeah, I do like the Nemesnikov on the third line there. That's something that we discussed yesterday on WST Sunday Live as well. The Ehlers-Lowry duo, I think, is unbreakable for me, at least right now. I'd like to see them for at least another 3 or 4 game stretch here because the first 4 game stretch with them together, I brought up the numbers earlier, they've been dominant, and that will lead to goals. The process is right, and it'll lead to the results. So I like Nemestikov in that third line. That's if you play them in kind of a sheltered role, give them maybe some advantageous minutes against kind of the weaker competition on the other side, I think they can feast. Nino Niederreiter is a guy who can score, very streaky scorer, but when he scores, he'll score 4 goals in 6 games and get real hot real quick. And Nemestikov, we've seen him in a second line role. Maybe that's a little bit too much for him with Ehlers and Perfetti, and the chemistry was maybe off there. But I think with Niederreiter, Nemestikov and Perfetti can both look better on that third line and maybe take advantage of lesser matchups. And I think that line will work. But again, to me, the things that need to stay together right now are the top line. They need to kind of figure out what's kind of ailing them these last couple games, and then the Ehlers-Lowry duo as well, because they've been great.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in terms of line matching. I think Appleton, I was wondering, where's he going to go in? But I feel like the natural spot would be on that fourth line now if the lines are going to stay the way they are and be Kupari, Bear, and Appleton. Someone will have to play on the left wing there. Connor, I know you're a big NFL guy. We're going to get into that throughout the show. I mean, what did your thoughts on what was the biggest thing for you? Biggest takeaway from championship weekend?
Mark Andrews, man, come on. He's selling the Ravens. What are we doing? He had the fumble on the big catch in Bills territory, which gave the Bills the ball back. Lamar had the big fumble in Bills territory that would have been points as well, that the Bills took all the way back. And then he had the drop on the 2-point conversion that would have tied the game and sent it to overtime. And as someone who has no, fandom in either of those teams, overtime would have been awesome. The playoff overtime between Lamar and Josh Allen and the MVP Bowl would have been great. So I was rooting for him to catch that ball and see overtime. But yeah, going to the NFC, I mean, Saquon Barkley's unstoppable right now. The NFC Championship is going to be so much fun because both Jaden Daniels for the Commanders and Saquon Barkley for the Eagles just look like no one can stop them. And then, the AFC, Bills, Chiefs. There's not really much that needs to be said there, but I think we're all rooting for the Bills.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. Like the Patriots were the hated team; they were winning, but it seems like the hate for the Chiefs really turned up. I didn't see any highlights on social media of actual plays made in the game. I just saw highlights of the penalties and Patrick Mahomes flopping.
The only thing I'll say is I never saw Tom Brady flop the way Patrick Mahomes did in that game. I don't care about like the calls, whatever. Hustler's going to bring up this like EPA per play penalty thing that I don't really care about. But flopping on the sideline is ridiculous. And if you want to compare the dynasties between Brady and Mahomes, that's the difference to me. Why I hate them more now.
Though, yeah, the whining, the oversaturation of the Kelsey brothers. I'm in the States. I'm at Target. I'm seeing them on the cereal box. Jason Kelsey's getting his own show. They're showing Travis. He had a great game, though. He had a great game, but we're going to be hearing a lot about the Chiefs. And I don't know, there's a lot of Chiefs fatigue out there, so I think everyone will be a Bills fan. You want to see the team that hasn't done it before get it done. And, yeah, the moment for me, this for the weekend was that Mark Andrews fumble. Baltimore, they've had playoff disappointments the last couple years. Hasn't gone their way. Trying to make a comeback, and Mark Andrews, a tight end, trying to dipsy doodle in the middle of the field, and it gets punched out. I screamed at that. Yeah. I screamed, and then they have the play for the 2-point, and Mark Andrews again. Not able to haul it in. I think that was a tougher play than you want to give him credit for. You're backpedaling into the corner. You got to look. Are you in? It's also horrible conditions, snow, slippery ball, slippery field. But it's in your hands. You're paid to catch the ball.
Got to catch that.
You got to catch it. Supreme disappointment. But who would have said, Josh Allen? They had a minute 30. Like he would have came in. They would probably would have kicked the field goal and won. So I think disappointing. Turnover is the story for Detroit and for Baltimore, the two teams that I think had high expectations coming into the playoffs, not able to get it done going home. We'll talk more NFL. Jamie Thomas coming up. Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports as well. We'll go into all the series. All the games. They're not series in the NFL. It's a one game.
Right.
And
one
all the
series.
games.
That's the one.
Yeah, all the games and possible what Super Bowl matchups we want to see. But Connor, thanks so much. We'll go through the lines and talk more NFL, some NHL stuff as well towards the end of the show. But appreciate you coming on here, Connor.
Yeah, sounds great. See you later in the show. Thanks.
See you later. There he is, Connor Hrabchak. Follow him on X, Connor Hrabchak 1. Jamie Thomas, Chiefs hater of Jets TV. He's coming up next, but first, here's us.
Do you want to thank the great people over at Rollies Transfer for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Keep an eye out on the roads. The new Rollies WST truck is out helping Winnipeggers move to their next destination. Hey, Rollies is family owned and operated and has become the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba over the last 60 years in business. If you've got a move coming up in 2025, get the white glove treatment from Rollies and get a great deal for being a WST listener. Head on over to their website, click on request an estimate in the top right corner and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and let them know when you're moving, where you got to go, and what needs to come with you. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly, get you a great quote, and get you locked in to make that next move for you and your family in 2025. Moving this year, get the white glove treatment from Rollies. Find out more. Request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. A nice break in the weather today. It's actually gorgeous outside. It was brutal the last few days, and bad news. We're going to get right back to it, which means this is your chance to make sure that you're not on the side of the road calling one of your buddies for a boost or CAA. Make sure that you're ready for what's to come in the next few months in the teeth of Winnipeg winter. And that would be going down to Manitoba Battery, making sure your battery is great. You can get free testing at either Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive. And if you need a new battery for your car or your truck, shop local, get the best prices in town, and heck, the best service as well. Manitoba Battery will deliver your batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. So give them a call or shop online today at manitobabattery.com and don't get left out in the cold. And hey, our friends at F Apparel are also ready for the new year. If it's new year, new you, new wardrobe, and you need to step up your menswear game, head on down to F Apparel. Custom suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories in the city as well. Of course, fellas, if you're getting married this summer, you know they're already working on big wedding plans, and heck, they've got a great deal for a discount for the wedding party when you and the fellas get your suits for the big day. Get on that as well. Pop by and see them, 190 Smith Street downtown. You can also find more information or book a fitting online at their website at EPHapparel.com.
Yeah, there's Season Transit on his way back from Kansas City. I'm pumped to be joined right now. Jamie Thomas, Jets TV, but he's informed me. He's got a lot of strong opinions on the NFL. I know he's a Dolphins fan. Just disappointed the way their season ended. But, Jamie, I mean, what do you think? Is Chiefs' 7th straight AFC championship? We're all excited about seeing greatness, aren't we?
We are. But this is – we were just talking about this off air. The pass or whatever – roughing the passer call on Will Anderson is beyond explanation. He doesn't. I thought at first he made contact with his helmet to Mahomes' helmet. There was no helmet-to-helmet contact. That was just him running into him and Mahomes going down the ground. And I'm not even talking about the push outside on the sidelines. But this is like it's what happens when there's a dynasty. You do whatever you can to keep the dynasty in place. And I'm not saying the refs are throwing this or they're on the Chiefs side, but it's making it unbearable to watch. Like, I love Huss to death. Love the guy. Been here 8 years. Love the guy to death. But he's getting on my nerves right now, and he's never got on my nerves because how can you be happy cheering for this when everything is being handed to you? So. I've had enough, and as a Dolphins fan, I can't cheer for the Buffalo Bills, but I'm sure as hell cheering for them this Sunday.
Hustler I think is embracing the Chiefs hate and the heel roll, so we're going to be hearing a lot of him this week. I will say the one where the two Houston players ran into each other, and Mahomes is like going out of bounds and then cuts back in. You know, you saw Caleb Williams do this earlier. These quarterbacks, they got to protect themselves. Like, what do you want? At a certain point, what do you want defenders to do? You can't tackle the quarterback. And I think you're seeing stuff maybe that doesn't get called on Jared Goff get called on Mahomes. And inconsistency is frustrating. But I think at the same time, they don't make mistakes. The Texans did, and they were able to come out the win. And they just do it every time. It's always a close game there, but they just make one more play. And if there's time on the clock, they're going to get it done.
That's what champions do, Remis. They find a way to win. And this version of the Chiefs, this team is probably the most boring of all the championship teams they've had. And they're probably going to find a way to get to the Super Bowl. Very tough to win. at Arrowhead. Is Hustler going there again this weekend? Is he dipping into his savings? Oh,
he did it. He already did it. He's not going to be there. He's going to Costa Rica.
Is that where he is this week?
Yeah. Oh, Hustler's already. He must be watching. He's already tweeting at you, Jamie.
If Antonio Brown is tweeting out things, who is a total like Huss told me I had CTE too one time when I sent a tweet to him where it's just so obvious and so egregious that this stuff is happening. Like, it's preposterous. All these things that are going in the favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's gross. I don't care what you think, Huss. I don't care if you ever have me on your show again. It's just so brutal. This team is boring. And if they get to the Super Bowl, I'm not watching the NFL for 2 weeks until the game to make sure that they lose. That's the only time. I'm not going to watch any pregame. I'm not going to watch any hype. Nothing if the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie Thomas holding it to you, swearing off NFL, any commentary.
And it'll be hard to do.
It's going to be hard. He's got to get ready for his dynasty leagues.
Yes.
So we'll wait and see. One thing I am wondering, like last year this time, we saw Zach Collaros in the box with Taylor Swift at the AFC, but that was in Buffalo. He lives in Southern Ontario. That was the Winnipeg connection that we needed to bring it in to this show. It went viral. So I don't know if he's going to make it down to Arrowhead this year, but that was the highlight of the game. I don't remember anything from the game except for that Zach Collaros was in the. Oh, Jason Kelsey was topless, right? So maybe we'll get that again.
Like, if I'm Zach Collaros, I'm staying far away. Like, you're far too classy to be along with this train of cheating. That's all I got to say. Like, Zach, you're way too classy. You're a great quarterback. You've won championships. You never have to cheat your way to the title. So just stay where you are. Stay in Southern Ontario. Have a good time. No need to be in Chief Kingdom at all.
All right. Moving on from a boring team, like you said, the Kansas City. We'll talk about an exciting team. Maybe the most exciting one in the NHL right now. The Winnipeg Jets finishing the homestand 4-2-2. I think you have to be pretty pumped with the way that it went. Maybe could have gone a bit better, but 4-2-2, pretty respectable. 10 points and 10 of 16 available points.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the Kings game, which is like nobody should have had to pay to watch that. Outside of the third period, the Kings are being reborn. It's the New Jersey Devils light from the mid 1990s, where it was just awful hockey, the dead puck era, as they call it. So that was the only game where I think you could be upset if you left the building, but at least the Jets got a point that night. But I think what you saw from that game, that Kings game on, is just the Jets buckling down defensively, making it very hard to get anywhere near the front of the net. Your goaltending was fantastic again. Deserved a much better fate against the Calgary Flames on Saturday. Although Kyle Connor and Adam Lowry were, hesitant to give too much credit to Dustin Wolf, the kid made a bunch of big saves. The Ehlers breakaway in the first period, the save on the one-timer off the power play in the third period. So he has to be given credit for those types of saves. He made big saves when it had to happen. And then the continuous Eric Comrie watch. Like, you feel for the kid. Like, 12 goals scored by the Jets, the highest scoring team in the National Hockey League in his last 8 starts. Just tells you how tough it's been for him to get some goal support. So overall, buddy, like, there's the 8-game homestand far too long, but it benefited the Jets. They got to sleep in their own beds. There was a lot of practice time in there, and I think that's where you saw the benefit of the defensive system fully in place, because they got that extra practice time and that rest where they're not jumping all over the countryside like they have, or all over North America like they had leading up into the month of January.
You just say the homestand was too long?
Oh my gosh. Like, the one they had in Ace, I think it was 18-19, was like 10 games. That was way too long. That was. I mean, I love the guys. I love seeing them all the time, but it's just, I'm sure the fans were, it's nice to have you here, but I like the 4 games here, 4 games on the road, 2 here, 2 on the road. It goes. Like, it's just extra work for me, buddy. It's just extra work. That's all it is. But I love my job. I love my job. Yeah, I love going to the rink all the time.
How about country night, though, Saturday? Seemed like that was a great... You got your country cowboy hat on there?
I did put on one of the ones of the hats they put on our show, check-in, which you can watch 12:30 Central Time on YouTube, X, and Facebook. But buddy, I grew up in Calgary. I remember, like, I'm allergic to horses and hay, so I'm the worst guy to talk to about country night. So I can't go anywhere near a horse I cannot go anywhere near a rodeo because I start wheezing. I was covering a rodeo, the Canadian Finals rodeo in Edmonton. I told the camera guy, we've got 15 minutes tops that we can talk to these guys, and we got to get out. And I'm literally, my eyes are going, they're watering. I'm wheezing while I'm questioning this cowboy who's cowboys are pretty much the essential men of what they do out there. And I'm sitting there wheezing and my nose is running, and it was so embarrassing, buddy. So it's just like, I'm the last guy you should be talking to about country night because I do not belong there. And I worked, my first job out of broadcasting school was a country bar in Edmonton. I worked there for 2 years called Tumbleweeds. And I'm not even going to get into it. There's no photos of it. There's none of it exist. But I learned how to two-step. I used to hate country music. Yeah, like there's a lot of layers to this onion there, Remis. So that was my first job out of broadcasting school, and it was an interesting one to say the least.
All right, well, I hope country. I got to get out to country. I want that cowboy.
Yeah, I've got an extra one downstairs if you want it.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, we'll
talk. Sure? Like the only problem is it has there's a little string on the bottom that keeps it on your head. I don't know how crazy you're planning on getting lately to make sure the hat doesn't come flying off your head. But buddy, I'm there for you, just for having me on the show today to complain about Huss's Kansas City Chiefs alone.
Yeah. Oh, I saw the Chiefs were in, so I was like, I got to call Jamie. He's got a lot of opinions, but
yeah, there's a lot of neutral inside me on this one, bud.
You do?
Yeah.
You do the check-in with Sarah. Also, ground control.
Yes.
One of your recent guests, Dylan Sandberg, on. I saw the YouTube thumbnail there. Great conversation. But how awesome has he been?
He's been amazing.
In the lineup. Like, hasn't missed, like he never missed any time. It's incredible.
It's so funny because every time some player returns, someone from the local media asks, are you going to ease them back in? And we all know they're not going to be eased back in. The amount of minutes he's logged, and you can see why. He's been a stable. There's a reason why, or he's been a big reason why the shots against have come down a little bit, because he's the premier shot blocker on the back end for the Jets. And man, him and Neil Pionk have just become such a great pair. So the top four is set right now, and he's so stable. The penalty kill was fantastic. No goaltender is going to make the save on that Kuzmenko shot that eluded Eric Comrie on the weekend. But before that, the Jets penalty kill had been very good since Dylan Sandberg had come back. So he's just such a steadying force back there, and great to have him back and not even hesitating to block shots. You always wonder when guys get hurt doing that job. Well, he had no hesitation. He's been fantastic, just to say the least. I can't even put into terms, like I can't hype him up enough. That's how good he's been.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I'm not going to say MVP and get ahead of myself, but I mean, you really saw their defensive play change from when he was gone until he come back. There's so many, it's so easy to talk up the Winnipeg Jets, Jamie. They're in first place. I mean, watching them day to day, what had stuck out to you watching them practice, day to day, just getting ready for, they got the break coming up in February. But what stood out to you about what they've been working on here for the last couple weeks at home?
It's only a real small sample size, but I really like the Lowry, Ehlers, Iafallo line, and they're back together again today. I think it would have been really hard for Scott O'Neill to break that lineup. Now, how effective will they be on the road when you don't have last change and shutting down the other team's best line? But I don't think they're gonna run into problems in that category. And I think, I'm talking with the middle two lines, the second and third lines. I think it's great for Cole Perfetti to have someone like Nino Niederreiter alongside him. They've talked about, Cole's got to go to the front of the net a little bit more. He's got to go to the dirty areas a little bit more. And who better to kind of push that narrative than Nino Niederreiter, the guy who does all the scoring from within 10 feet. So I think it's been beneficial for that line change. But I really like Nikolai Ehlers with Adam Lowry because it allows Ehlers a little more space. You got two guys in Iafallo and Lowry that can go in and get the puck. To Nikolai Ehlers, allows him a little more freedom, a little more space. And when Nikolai Ehlers has some time and space, he's very dangerous. So very curious to see how he looks tonight with last change, or not having last change in Salt Lake City against Utah. But I really like those two lines. I know Vladislav Nemesnikov is now stepped between Niederreiter and Perfetti, but I don't think they're going to miss a beat in that aspect. So really impressed with that second and third line so far for the Jets.
Yeah, second line. And the third line, you mentioned Nemesnikov coming back in tonight, centering Niederreiter and Perfetti. So, I mean, almost everyone healthy, Appleton practicing in a regular jersey. They have to be pretty good here heading out on the road. Bit of an interesting schedule where you're playing Utah there and here. Yeah,
Calgary's back here on Sunday.
Calgary's back again, but I think I have to like the way that they're playing heading into this road trip. But it would be nice to get Eric Comrie a win, Jamie. Can't seem to get that done.
It's not going to happen. There's no way that happens on this road trip because you're going back. You're going Connor Hrabchak both games against Utah, and certainly against Colorado on Wednesday. So I mean, buddy, listen. There's not a lot to pick at right now. Very interesting schedule coming up. Going back on the road. You go on the road for 2, come back home for 2, and go see Montreal and Boston. Montreal is playing a lot better. Boston, they're always tough on the road. So you got 4, your next 6 away from home. So some tough challenges ahead for the Jets. But I felt when the schedule got tough on this last homestand, they met that, and you saw the win over top of Colorado, and Colorado's going to be an interesting challenge when they get out there. But as for tonight, it's just how this all works, and just with adding Vladislav Nemestikov back in the lineup, what that's going to look like, that's what we're going to have to wait and see. But it's a challenging schedule, to say the least. You're probably going to get Dustin Wolf again on Sunday, but then, of course, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to get pucks past him. But let's just focus on what they got to do tonight, and, of course, that's Utah.
Utah, the hockey club. Do you call them the hockey club on the check-in? Like when you say, like, it's like, okay, the Jets are doing this. Do you say the hockey club, or do you say the full name, Utah HC? Oh, I think we just lost you there. Oh, what a terrible time. That was the best question that I had. I'm a big Utah. I say Utah HC. I think it's weird when you just refer to them as the hockey. Like, I don't know what Dan Roberts says. I think I asked him this once, where it's like, what do you do? Okay, you're back, Jamie. Get your take. Do you call them the hockey club? Because I said it's kind of weird. Like, if you're the play-by-play guy calling the game, we got the Jets and the hockey club. Like, I don't.
Right.
And I find it interesting. I'm on all the sports apps. Sometimes they say Utah HC, and sometimes they write hockey club. So I don't know where you lean in on this.
I just think you have to go the full thing. I don't think you can shorten it. It's an interesting way that they've decided to go down this path. I love the uniforms. I'm pretty sure we're going to get the Utah Yeti after this when they make that announcement at some point. But it's an interesting dilemma, right? This is called filling time when we're talking about how we're going to call the Utah Hockey Club. It's a real issue in society. We got to get to the bottom of this. But yes, to answer your question, Remis, I'm going full Utah Hockey Club, because it's funny you asked me that question. When I was writing the preview today for the show, you have to come up with another interesting way to get people to tune in. I'm like, Utah. I'm like, I can't say Utah. It's Jets and Utah. Jets and the Hockey Club. It doesn't sound good. So Utah Hockey Club, full stop right there.
It's a common soccer thing. A lot of FC out there in European hockey, like Davos HC or whatever. So
Utah HC is not bad. I don't mind that at all. But I'm writing out the full thing. And this nonsense is going to end next season. We don't have to worry about it after this.
Yeah, I do like the Utah jerseys. I like how I don't normally like text on jerseys. I like the colors, same as Winnipeg Ice. Great Colors. But we'll see what happens with the logo. They should just take the Winnipeg Ice. If they're going to be Yeti, just take the Winnipeg Ice logo. That logo should get used.
So they can build a rink, and then they can come back to Winnipeg. How about that?
All right.
Yeah.
We will see. Okay, I'm looking forward to the Jets and the Hockey Club tonight. And the Hockey Club, we got to note that they do not have the Jets 1.0 history, Jamie. That's still in Arizona. They're starting fresh.
They're all by themselves.
Yeah, it's brand new. All right, Jamie.
I really think that's the right way to go, so I'm glad they did that. So somehow you're going to have to buy back the history, or maybe, I don't know. But you can't, because you have Thrashers. It's a big conundrum, Remis. It's a big conundrum.
You got important bosses, Jamie. Tell them we got to get it back somehow.
Yeah, somehow, some way, for $1.
For sure. All right, Jamie.
Just like USFL. See you, buddy.
Okay, I'll have you on February 7 when the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, or February 8, the day after they won. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, and I just got a tweet. I just read this tweet. The Buffalo Bills just got called for roughing the passer on Kansas City for next week. It's already determined.
Send that to Huss. It's gonna be on a Christmas card this year coming up.
All right. See you later, Jamie. You'll be in touch. There is Jamie Thomas. Catch him on X, Jamie Thomas TV. And him and Sarah Lesky do the check-in on Jets game days 12:30. They've had some great guests on there, so check that out and all the great content on the Winnipeg Jets YouTube. You can even hear my voice featured, well, I don't know about featured, but used in the latest episode of Runway talking about time zones. And the Jets are in the Mountain Time Zone tonight. We'll be talking to Mike McIntyre soon, but just looking back on Saturday's game, Scott Arniel saying, hey, they're not taking any moral victories, even though, they outshot Calgary. They had 90% undeserved to win meter. No moral victories for the Jets. They didn't get the job done.
They're upset because they didn't get Combs a win. And two, when you get that many chances, and when you get 15, 16, 5-on-5 chances, we usually get more than just one goal. And that's where they get frustrated. They feel that, there's frustration there that they didn't, he's a goal scorer. He knows that he's one of the guys tonight that, needs to get one of those ones to win the net. And that's just what drives those guys. And, you love to see that. Nobody's happy about this. I mean, we outplayed them, but it's all about the 2 points. It really is.
About the 2 points, they weren't able to get it done. Here's Kyle Connor, just his thoughts on how they played on Saturday.
Never like to, we look at us and see what we can do. I think, some goaltenders can have good nights, but if we're playing the right way and, attacking the way we need to be, we got to find a way to get some more there.
So in that sense, I think you had 40 shots, but maybe the quality of those shots you guys would have liked to be a little better?
Yeah, they did a good job of protecting the middle. I think, you see Adam's goal, get a guy in that front, get a high tip. We, the third period, we made it a focal point to try to get some more guys to the net there. And that being said, they weren't giving us, the grade A's, but they were really packing it in, and that's why you see the shot volume that way. We're taking a lot from the outside, but when that's the case, you got to find ways to get inside, get positioning, and find those rebounds, and that's definitely something we can work on the offensive side of the game. Is when that slot's not there, and the cycle game, we're not finding those plays that we got to find ways to generate more.
Kyle Connor says they got to generate more, and here's just a little more from Kyle Connor on the game from Saturday.
Yeah, there was definitely some good things. Obviously, the stuff that we gave up, very preventable. And, a couple bad bounce things, first one off shin pad or something. And, obviously you don't look too much into that. Those, you try to move on. And but at the same time, you can take some positives from it. But, the loss is a loss, at the end of the day. You may have those games going forward, going into the playoffs, and you can't just, chalk it up to, we thought we played well. I know it's, you look at the overall theme of the season. If we play that way, you're going to say more times we're going to win. But, I'd like to think that we can come out on top on that.
Kyle Connor looking for wins, not looking for, play the right way. We'll come on top more often than not. That doesn't put 2 points in the standings. I got a text from Hustler. He says, to me, sounding great listening as we drive through North Dakota, and he's loving how much Jamie hates the Chiefs, and did appreciate my question on Utah Hockey Club. It is funny how all the websites aren't really sure what to emphasize. Like, it looks weird when it says Hockey Club. I think it should just be Utah HC as the full name. And if I was doing play-by-play, I wouldn't say, the Hockey Club coming down the ice with the puck. Anyways, hey, that's a conversation we can have for this year, and maybe in 20 years or so when, the Utah Yeti are still in the league, we can look back and say, hey, remember when they were called the Hockey Club? How silly was that? We'll get a good look at them. Mike McIntyre is in Salt Lake City. We'll get to him in a second, but first, here is Hustler with a couple more messages.
Do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Princess Auto, founded in Winnipeg, headquartered in Winnipeg, now coast to coast, but with 3 Winnipeg locations to serve you. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around, everything you need to complete those projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop down to the location on Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or for the folks in Westmount in Brandon, and check it all out for you. And of course, you can get working 24/7, 365 on those ideas by checking out the Princess Auto website and shopping online as well. Be a minute before we're at Princess Auto Stadium, but we've got that Bomber schedule, so we'll count down to the days. And in the meantime, pop by your local Princess Auto today. Got to give a big cheers to our friends at Canadian Club, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey. Speaking of Princess Auto Stadium, Canadian Club, of course, is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Looking forward to seeing and cheersing many of you in the north end of the stadium at some point next year. But in the meantime, 12 months a year, Canadian Club is Canada's favorite original Canadian whiskey since 1848. Pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts and look for the Canadian Club display featuring Canadian Club Classic, Canadian Club 100% Rye and more. And when you're popping by your local beer store, keep your eyes out for Canadian Club and Ginger Ale, pre-mixed cocktails in cans available at vendors throughout the city. Also want to thank our friends at Wallace & Wallace for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Wallace & Wallace has been the fencing and overhead door specialists and leaders since 1946, serving both commercial and residential customers. If your property needs the security and protection of a new fence, Wallace & Wallace has every kind you could possibly need. Vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, or wood fences. And if in 2025 you might be thinking of a new overhead garage door for your home, talk to the gang at Wallace & Wallace. They have Winnipeg's largest selection of overhead garage doors, which means they'll have one to perfectly match your home and look great and add value to your home as well. Give Wallace & Wallace a call, 452-2700. The Wallace & Wallace team will be happy to pop down and arrange a time to come out and see you and give you a free estimate. You can also check them out online at wallacefences.com, wallacedoors.com, or pop down and see them at their showroom on Lowson Crescent, just off of Kenaston.
There's Huss in transit on his way home from Kansas City. He'll be back tomorrow. I'm sure we'll hear more and more about the Chiefs heading the 7th straight AFC Championship, yada, yada. But more importantly, the Winnipeg Jets, their first visit to Utah. Mike McIntyre, waiting for him to hop in the call. He is currently in Salt Lake City. Was at practice. Big road trip for Mike here with Utah and Colorado on Wednesday. I'm very excited to ask him about Kevin Cheveldayoff. Will be holding his mid-season address to a select group of reporters on the road. That is tomorrow. So I'm curious what is going to come out with that. Some big decisions coming up for the Winnipeg Jets at the trade deadline. March 7, the trade deadline. Big week here at Winnipeg Sports Talk. It is the Friday that week. It is our 4th anniversary, our 1000th show. So make sure you are tuned in for that week. Going to be very fun. We'll do an extended stream on the trade deadline, but I wonder, are the Jets going to pounce before the deadline like they did last year when they acquired Sean Monahan? I imagine they'll be making some moves on deadline day, maybe something more minor. But Mike McIntyre will be sitting down with Kevin Cheveldayoff tomorrow, and I'll be in the Winnipeg Free Press. Some great work lately, some great in-depth stuff as the Winnipeg Free Press on the road, one of the few newspapers, independent newspapers, that is still covering sports on the road. And as I load Mike in, I don't know, is he in the Delta Center? Give me one. Yo, Mike, I'll bring you in. How is it, Mike? Tell us. Crossing one off the bingo card there at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City.
Yes, it's funny. Last year, Remo, I had actually completed my NHL Arena bingo card. 2 years ago. The only rink I hadn't been to was the Florida Panthers rink in Sunrise, and then of course Jets only go there once a year, and just always seemed like that trip. I wasn't on that trip, but so anyways, 2 years ago, finished the bingo card. But then the bingo card changed this year with the Coyotes relocating here to Salt Lake City. So suddenly had a new rink to add, and didn't have to wait too long to cross this one off. I'm in the bowels of the of Delta Center right now. There's sort of a media workroom down here just near the Jets dressing room. I'll say this about the rink. It's borderline terrifying if you're sitting in the upper deck. A couple of the local reporters were telling me that this is the steepest arena in North America. And I don't know that that's anything anyone would want to lay claim to, right? Like, I was looking up at the upper deck, and it almost looks like a straight line. And I can't imagine, Remis, if you were a fan and maybe you've had a drink or two or three, trying to navigate your way back to your seat with how steep it is. I'm sure a lot of folks here watching, listening today remember the old Winnipeg Arena. And I remember as a kid being in the upper deck at the old Winnipeg Arena, and it scared the heck out of me because it was so steep. This looks to be even steeper. And I guess the good news is they're planning renovations here. A lot of those seats in the upper deck are obstructed view. You can't actually see about a third of the rink, including like whatever end you're looking down at is obstructed. So they are going to be doing renovations over the next 2 summers to, I guess, make it a little more palatable. Because the arena seats like 16,000, but it's really only about 11,000 in terms of non-obstructed seats. And so you may look at the attendance report and you're seeing that Utah's averaging like just over 11,000 fans this year. And some people are saying, oh my God, that's terrible. It's a building that holds 16. Why did the NHL go there? Well, the fact is they're usually not selling those obstructed seats. And so they have been playing to capacity. It's just a limited capacity right now for those who don't want to risk their life in the upper deck.
Do you see them offer discounts and almost give away some of those seats as well? I think, in terms of moving to Utah, they really like what Ryan Smith brought to the table in terms of being part of the club that is the NHL owners. And I've heard him speak. He seems very engaged, youngerish guy. You see him sitting front row there. But and I think his business, they enjoyed. There was a good partnership there, and they liked his passion. It seems like Utah, Salt Lake City, fast-growing city. But does it seem like they're passionate about the hockey club there? Absolutely,
and again, just talking to some locals here, like the Utah Jazz, their basketball team, they're terrible this year. I haven't looked at I think they're like near the bottom of the NBA standings. They still have a great following, pack the place. It is a very good sports town, and I think one example of that is that they're going to get the Olympics back here, Remis. The Winter Olympics, I believe it's 2034, are coming back to Salt Lake City. So the fact that they're going to host a Winter Olympics for a second time tells you that there's a passionate fan base here. And I look at this. I keep wanting to call them the Coyotes because I was in the room this morning and, of course, covered the Coyotes a lot, being a division rival of the Jets. So you look around the room and it's almost all the same players, and you just want to call them the Coyotes. And the fact you can't even call them anything other than Hockey Club, HC. Let's call them the Yeti, because it sounds like that's probably what they're going to end up being called. But being in the room this morning, like you look around, there is so much exciting young talent in this room. Like I really feel like they're getting this team. It's probably the perfect team for this market. A young, a vibrant community. There's a bit of a college feel to their games from everything I've heard, and we'll see what that's like tonight. But they have a team with a lot of really young, exciting players. Dylan Gunther, who won't be in the lineup tonight because he's hurt, but Logan Cooley, Clayton Keller, Josh Doan. I had a great one-on-one chat this morning with Josh Doan, who he said that people have told him that the Doans are a bit of a curse, that if you draft a Doan, Your team is going to relocate. And consider that Shane Doan's rookie season was the final season of Jets 1.0. Josh Doan's rookie season was last year in Arizona, the final season. I guess we can say it was kind of the final season of Jets 1.0 since the franchise is now dormant. So anyways, Josh Doan, he had a good chuckle about that, but he's a guy, another young, exciting player. So this is a team that could be really good, for a long time. And I talked a bit with Scott Arniel about that today. They're having some growing pains and, some inconsistency that you'll get in young teams. But yeah, I expect this is a team that's going to really resonate with the population here. And, if they can, it's not Vegas, if you will. I don't think it's going to be where they go to the Stanley Cup final here in year one. There's a good chance that they may not even make the playoffs here in year one. But I think this will be a team that fans in this market will be able to get behind. And they're probably going to give the Jets some headaches for years to come just because they look to be a good team for a long time.
Out to Utah HC game. They are in the division. We'll be seeing them, quite a bit unless they switch things around when, I don't know, maybe there's some new teams coming in the future, but we'll wait and see. But I think for the players, they have, there's no more uncertainty about the future, where you're going to live, what the team's going to be. And as far as the hockey goes, Ryan Smith is going to spend money, and they're no longer going to be a cap dump where you can send away your LTIR contracts. And they're actually going to, try to acquire players, sign free agents. So it does certainly change the landscape of the league. As far as the Jets, seems like some lineup changes coming with some players healthy at today's morning skate.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the Jets are now the only player who you could say is currently injured is Mason Appleton. And even he was out in a regular sweater today. And Scott Arniel told me that there's a very good chance he could be available Wednesday in Denver. So the injury list, which had grown quite a bit in, recent days, you had, Colin Miller, you had Sandberg and Miller and Fleury and Appleton and then Nemesnikov. Well, all of a sudden, the Jets are getting healthy. And so they'll get Vlad Nemesnikov back tonight. And it's probably a good decision if you're the Jets. Like, I don't know that I'd want to throw two forwards back in on the same game off the injured list. So you won't get Nemesnikov and Appleton tonight. It'll just be Nemesnikov. What's really interesting, Remis, is how the Jets are going to utilize him. He's not going to go back into the second-line center spot with Cole Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers, which is where he's been for most of the year. He's going to go onto the third-line center spot with Cole Perfetti and Nino Niederreiter. Because clearly Scott Arniel, who, he said after, I think, the first game they played together, that he was intrigued. Clearly, Scott Arniel continues to be intrigued by what he's seeing from having Adam Lowry and Nikolai Ehlers together. And Alex Iafallo has been a nice piece on that line as well. That line, the last two games, has been absolutely dominant at 5-on-5. Just putting up some huge numbers in terms of the way they're tilting the ice, the underlying numbers. So I think it's a smart move that he's going to allow that Lowry, Ehlers, Iafallo line to breathe here a little more, as he should. And we'll see what, Nemesnikov can do, taking Rasmus Kupari's place. Kupari will move down to the fourth line. Dominic Toninato will come out of the lineup as a healthy scratch now. But, I like that because I like a lot of what Vlad Nemesnikov can do. You look at someone like Cole Perfetti, who I think really needs to get going here for the Jets. All of a sudden, Cole Perfetti, a little more sheltered. He's on the third line, not the second line. But look who he's playing with. Nemesnikov and Niederreiter, like two veteran guys, play a simple and very effective, very honest game. I think that's a perfect spot for Cole Perfetti. Maybe they can get him going. And if they can, and that second line continues to do what they've been doing, and the first line, we know what they're capable of. All of a sudden, the Jets look quite a bit different in that they maybe have, where they in the past they had the number one line and then the second line with Nemestikov, Ehlers, Perfetti that was kind of inconsistent. Then he had that third line that was almost used like a second line, but it was more of a shutdown line with Lowry, Niederreiter, Appleton. If you now have kind of balanced things out a little more, you have three lines that potentially can all be scoring lines, but also can more than hold their own on the defensive end of the puck. So sometimes, you discover things almost by accident or fluke, or in this case, injury caused the shuffling of the deck a little bit. And I think it's a smart move that Scott Arniel isn't just going to automatically go back to the way it was. And we'll see, when Mason Appleton's available, like where does he fit in? Maybe he comes in on the fourth line now. If Scott Arniel wants to go with the top nine like he has it tonight, maybe Appleton takes the spot of Gustafsson maybe, and then maybe you've got Kapari with Barron and Appleton as your fourth line. And, you've got some different dynamics here, which I think is a good thing. Better to kind of experiment now during the season so that when it comes time for the playoffs, you've seen different permeations of lines and you've got a lot of potential weapons in your pocket.
Yeah, it seemed before they never switch up the lines all season, and now you're trying different combinations. It's good because you have to try something else down the road due to injury or whatever, and there is some familiarity there. But I think they went, two scoring lines, two checking lines, and well, if your second line isn't really scoring, then we really only have one scoring line. And I think you've seen this Ehlers-Lowry tandem here. If it's IFL or they did switch it up for the third period, put Velarde there. I agree. It is intriguing, and maybe we do want to see more. And Adam Lowry, he's having a career, he's on pace for career highs in terms of goals. Maybe, he showed, this was a long time ago now, but he showed scoring touch in junior, but he hasn't really played with any offensive players like Nikolai Ehlers. It's a lot different playing with him than, playing with Mason Appleton or Andrew Kopp, Brandon Tanev, whoever he's played with the last couple of years. So, hey, he's got 26 points in 47 games, Lowry. But I don't know, the Jets getting ahead of themselves saying, hey, might affect their trade deadline plans. We've been talking second line center all year. Does that put second line center as the trade line on the back burner now, or are we still in wait and see?
Well, I still think the Jets are going to absolutely take a swing at the trade deadline. It just might be maybe the swing Remis is at the best available winger as opposed to the center. Like maybe they go and get an upgrade for whether it's, so Alex Iafallo can move back down the lineup, or Cole Perfetti if he's struggling, and the price to obtain a winger might be a little less than the price to obtain a rental center. And maybe it's not even a rental. Maybe the Jets try and go get someone with some term. But yeah, I think Lowry doing what he's been doing. Look, we were talking about second line center. Even when it was Lowry, Niederreiter, Appleton, that kind of was the second. Like he kind of was the second line center, anyways. Just in terms of deployment, when you look at minutes at the end of a game, Lowry would often have more minutes than Vlad Nemestikov. So you could say that he kind of was second in the pecking order. But however you number them, whether it's Lowry 2 and Nemestikov 3 or Nemestikov 2, Lowry 3, if you find some really nice chemistry with the line as a whole, then maybe you're not so worried about who the center is. It's just the line is clicking. And so maybe if you feel like Lowry and Ehlers, that's working and you love what they can bring, so yeah, maybe it's a winger that you're shopping for as opposed to just a straight center. So yeah, I think it opens up the door of possibilities. And when it comes to, the potential price you're paying, look, I believe the Jets should be willing to pay just about any price. Look where they are in the standings. You don't get these opportunities every year. And I think the Jets will be aggressive because I think there's a feeling internally that they owe it to their core. They owe it to Mark Scheifele and Connor Hrabchak. When those guys sign long-term deals, it was always with the expectation that if we feel we have a chance, we're going to go for it. And I think Kevin Cheveldayoff's history would suggest that they operate that way, right? Like you can debate whether it turned out as good as it you hoped it would. They took a big swing last year. They went and got Sean Monahan, then they went and got Tyler Toffoli. Those were big swings. They've done it in the past too. Paul Stastny. So I just think that we are going to see them be aggressive at the trade deadline. But maybe it isn't just a center, or that it has to be a center. Maybe there's other opportunities out there because of the versatility they have up front. One thing that won't change, at least tonight, Remis, and I'm sure there is a lot of head shaking and hand wringing in Jets Nation, is the blue line. It's the same two guys who won't be in the lineup tonight. Hayden Fleury, who is a healthy scratch, just to be clear, he's healthy and could return. Kind of hard to believe. This was a guy that when Dylan Samberg got hurt was thrust into the top 4, and now he gets hurt, and now he's not in the top 6. Logan Stanley is, at least for now, ahead of him on the depth chart. We all knew Samberg would go back into his spot, as he should, but maybe a bit of a surprise that Logan Stanley is ahead of Hayden Fleury for now anyways. And Ville Heinola, of course, well, the waiting game continues. And, we'll see if right now Fleury and Heinola, they're kind of that fourth pair, right? One thing we know, the Jets, they're not going to be putting anyone on waivers. They'll carry 8 defensemen here all the rest of the year if they have to, if everyone's healthy. We'll just see, I guess you'd like to say performance will dictate how they deploy it. But, and look, I think the Jets D was actually quite good the other night collectively. They didn't give the Flames a whole lot, right? And the one goal the Jets scored was with that third pair. Stanley and Miller went D to D, and the nice shot, which was tipped by Adam Lowry. So maybe that earned them another look tonight, that they were involved in Winnipeg's one goal the other day. But I know a lot of folks out there are losing sleep over what's going on the blue line.
And that was my next question. I was going to say, what's the plan here? I figured when Miller and Fleury were healthy, they would slide them both in. Fleury, you said, was thrust into the second pair. When Samberg was out, he's played 25 games this year. Is this a case of not wanting to do too much shakeup? I mean, they had a great performance, even though they didn't win on Saturday. I know if the plan was to do Miller and then Fleury, because you mentioned putting Nemestikov in, then maybe Appleton goes in later. Right. But have they talked about doing some type of rotation? It seems, I don't want to say strange, but you don't want to see a guy lose his job due to injury.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's I don't think we're going to see a rotation necessarily, like where it's just equal opportunity here for where it's almost those 4 guys are rotating on who because Winnipeg has a clear top 4. I think we would all agree when everyone's healthy, the big minutes are all going to be played by Morrissey, DeMello, Samberg, Pionk. There's no question about it. That is the big 4. Then it's the bottom 4. And right now it's Stanley and Miller. We've seen all kinds of incarnate. We've seen Stanley and Heinola. We've seen Fleury and Miller. We may see Fleury and Heinola. So there's lots of ways you can go with it. I think part of it is Fleury wasn't necessarily ready a few days ago. So it was Stanley and Miller. And, I think the Jets, I think they like what they've done. Obviously, they would have liked to score a couple more goals the other night, but that's not on their third D pairing. And like I said, their third D pairing kind of led to the one goal. So I just think it's not like they're coming off a stinker of a game where it would be easy to just substitute in the other pair or one of the players off the other pair. We'll see what tonight brings. But I do think whoever's on that third pair, they probably are hearing footsteps, or they should be hearing footsteps, knowing that there's 2 other guys looking over their shoulder waiting to come in. And so I don't think it's going to be a rotation. Like I said, it should be performance-based. Has it always been performance-based? I think you can make a serious argument that no, it hasn't been. And we'll just see how this plays out now over the coming games. And of course, it's always possible that someone gets hurt again. I mean, the Jets blue line, they were remarkably healthy last year and not so much this year. So perhaps injury maybe makes decisions that the coaches at this point aren't willing to make. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see how it plays out. Certainly be a storyline. Will they look to add a defenseman, before the trade deadline as well? Kevin Cheveldayoff, as you said, has a history of adding when the team is in position. Hey, speaking of Kevin Cheveldayoff, you're actually going to have a chance to sit down and talk with him tomorrow. I mean, the Jets GM traditionally very tight-lipped about future plans, but what are you expecting to hear from him tomorrow in the mid-season sit-down?
Yeah, this one's happening a little bit later than usual because normally mid-season sit-downs, which Kevin Cheveldayoff traditionally does, almost has always happened like right at the mid-season. Well, tonight is game 48, I think. So we're mid-season plus 7 more games. But I think part of that was Kevin Cheveldayoff. He's been on the road a little bit here lately with some scouting and that's one of the questions we'll ask him, I guess, is what's he been up to lately. But yeah, I'm not expecting Kevin Cheveldayoff to show his cards during his chat tomorrow with the traveling media in Denver. I'll give it my best try to see what we can get out of him. But I suspect he's got to be really happy with what he's seen from his group this year. Why wouldn't he? They're sitting on top of the Western Conference or on top of the Central Division. And they've had some injuries that they've seen their depth kind of pressed into action and seen some good things. So yeah, we'll see what we can get out of him. I mean, I want to ask him about Jonathan Toews. I'm curious if Jonathan Toews might be on the Jets' radar. I know we've talked about him before on this show, Remis, ever since it came out that Captain Sirius is seriously looking at a comeback, and whether the Jets, I believe the Jets would be one of the teams that would very much be interested in that. Going back to our earlier chat about perhaps a center. So yeah, well, again, I'll be shocked if he says anything groundbreaking or earth-shaking. That's kind of not his style. But we'll give it the old college try tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to read that in the Winnipeg Free Press, Mike. You're in Salt Lake City, Jets Hockey Club tonight, right? Hockey Club, there it is.
Yes.
But I actually wanted to ask you about something you wrote about what happened Thursday's game. I forgot to mention this on Friday, but it was an incredible anthem before the game sung by a young woman, Olivia Steadman.
Yeah.
Incredible story where she had a stroke before birth, visual impairment, cerebral palsy, has faced a lot of difficulties in her life too. When she was born, it seemed like they were unsure if he was going to be able to even walk. But you wrote an incredible piece about her journey to, sing the anthem at the Jets game, and she did a remarkable job. Got a huge ovation from the crowd. I don't know if you want to share what went into that.
Yeah, I mean, I was there. I think anybody that was in the building, or if you were watching it on television, how could you not be moved by this very little person? She's not very big, but my goodness, does she have a powerful and almost haunting voice? And she brought the house down. There were people I know in tears, and there was a lot of cheers, of course. It was a touching moment. I thought it was a great move by the Jets, and good on the Jets for giving her that platform. And I was kind of curious how it all came to be. And so, I wanted to do something more with it. So I managed to get in touch with her parents and Olivia herself, and a couple organizations, the Movement Center of Manitoba and Inclusion Winnipeg, that have done some tremendous work with her over the years. Talked to Stacey Natras as well. Wanted to get the regular anthem singer's take on the job Olivia did. But yeah, it was I think a heartwarming piece. And, it's one of those like classic Winnipeg stories, Remis, of like 1 degree of separation. I was chatting with Adam Lowry this morning here in Salt Lake City about it because he plays a role in this as well. So I'll just give the Coles Notes version. This is just classic Winnipeg, 1 degree of separation. So Olivia Steadman's dad, Tim, he's known Mark Chipman for years. They played beer league hockey together. He's also known the Plain family, Ken Plain's son specifically. Tim Steadman and Ken Plain's son have been longtime friends. And the Plain family have been longtime friends with the Steadmans. And Olivia Steadman she'd sing for Ken Plain and his wife. And she'd sing the U.S. anthem because Ken Plain is American. And so she'd sing. And anyways, when Ken Plain died last year at the age of 88, the Bomber legendary quarterback, at his celebration of life, Olivia Steadman was asked by the Plain family if she would sing. One of the people at the celebration of life was Mark Chipman, who heard Olivia sing for the first time, was, like anybody, completely blown away by her voice and what she was able to do. And as I said, plays beer league with Tim Steadman. That led to some discussion. And you have to give Mark Chipman all the credit here. He got the ball rolling. He made this happen. I know the Steadmans are just absolutely indebted to him. As for Adam Lowry, he also went to bat for Olivia's talents because his girlfriend is best friends with the Steadman's niece, who got married last year. Adam Lowry and his girlfriend were at the wedding of the Steadman's niece, and Olivia sang there. And so Adam Lowry and his girlfriend had also heard her perform and knew how good she was. So it's just like classic Winnipeg to have all these little connections. But it all led to like just a tremendous moment on a big stage. And, one of the things that I tried to reflect in the story is for all that know Olivia, they hope this isn't just a moment, but almost a movement, that this shows that, anything's possible. And, it's great to have goals. And this was a goal of Olivia's. When she was a little girl, she would go at her school and sing "O Canada" on the PA system to her classmates instead of the can recording. And like a decade ago, she said that she wanted to sing at a Jets game, and she did. And just the last note on this, but Mark Chipman has told the family that he wants to have her back next year. And next time, though, they're going to make sure it happens on a Saturday night game because Mark Chipman says he wants it to happen on Hockey Night in Canada, on a nationally broadcast game. So an even bigger audience will get to hear Olivia. Just great stuff all around.
Yeah, so you can see more of her on Instagram, Olivia's _ voice. And Mike, that's just one of the great pieces in the Winnipeg Free Press. You guys putting out so much quality content. You sit down with Jessica Campbell, assistant coach of the Kraken.
Yeah, Kenny had a great chat with her last week. Yeah,
as well. And I really enjoyed Ken's on the Jets sticks. And the one about the game-worn jerseys as well. That was David Sanderson who did that. So, Mike, thank you again for coming on and sharing so much insight on the Winnipeg Jets and what you're writing about the Winnipeg Free Press. I can't wait to read about the game, but also your sit-down with Cheveldayoff. Get the questions ready.
Yeah, and I'll have a fun story on Josh Doan coming in tomorrow's paper. And I also went around the Jets room today, had a conversation with a lot of players about Salt Lake City. I wanted to know like how many guys have been here before. Alex Iafallo, avid outdoorsman. He's come here lots because he loves being outdoors. So he's thrilled that the NHL is back here. But I found out a couple quick funny things. Vlad Nemestikov's dad played a pro season here in the late 90s. Vlad Nemestikov told me it was Salt Lake City where he first put on a pair of skates, a young Vlad Nemestikov. So he's got a connection here. And Scott Arniel talked about it as well. I forgot about this, Remis. Scott Arniel, what do they call it? The Turner Cup or the old IHL? What was their champion? I think it was called the Turner Cup. He won in 95-96. Scott Arniel was part of the championship team in Salt Lake City. In fact, Scott Arniel has played in this very building, although he said it's changed a lot since he was there. So I'll have a piece tomorrow as well, just on kind of what the players and coaches think about the NHL's newest market. And it's good to be here on the road. Looking forward to tonight's game, and we'll chat with you down the road here.
Yes, I think not next week, but the week after. Hustler will be away, and I'll be in the chair again. Yes, it was the Turner Cup, 1996. It was the Utah Grizzlies.
Yes,
that won. Tommy Salo was the playoff MVP for Utah. I remember Tommy Salo and another Salt Lake City incident in 2002 Olympics where the puck went off his head and Belarus upset Sweden. So interesting. I'll have to read. I'll have to check that out. Thanks again, Mike, for taking the time to hop on. Great talk with you, and happy belated birthday as well.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks very much.
There he is, Mike McIntyre. Mike McIntyre, WPG on X. I think Blue Sky too. He's down there in Salt Lake City for Winnipeg Jets and the hockey club. Utah Hockey Club. We're going to talk to some NFL, bring back Connor Hrabchak. We'll go through the lines. But first, here's a quick one from Hustler.
A big cheers from our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Hey, folks, not only is Boston Pizza your best place in town to gather with your gang for Winnipeg Jets hockey games with pick-a-player contests and chance to win great prizes and swag from Royal Sports, not only is Boston Pizza your number one spot to get together for NFL playoff games and all the big sporting events in the lounge, January is also the month where every single day is Pasta Tuesday at Boston Pizza. Enjoy until the end of the month. Great deals on all your favorite pasta dishes at your local Boston Pizza with Pasta Tuesday promos every single day, 7 days a week at your local Boston Pizza. Pop in today. And of course, if you can't make it or it's a little too cold to get outside, you can always get it hot and fresh to your door. The great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. And a huge shout out to our friends at Royal Sports for 40 years plus. Family owned and operated, the number one hockey and sports superstore in town. If you play hockey or have a hockey player in the family, you probably already know that Royal Sports is your one-stop shop for full equipment, goalie gear, sticks, skates, right down to stick tape, pucks, and skate sharpening. But I will remind you, as we look outside and the river trail is absolutely mint right now, many people not necessarily needing an expensive pair of hockey skates, just want to go out and make the most of Winnipeg winter. Royal is the best place in town for some affordable recreational skate options that won't set you back maybe the same amount of that a pair of the blades that the pros use. Get on down there. While you're at it, check out all the best selection of Winnipeg Jets merchandise, Bomber gear, NFL, NHL, you name it, they've got it. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Don't forget to check out all the cool stuff on the King Skate, Snow, and Surf side. And give them a follow on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops, specials, and sale information. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Great sponsors of Winnipeg Sports Talk.
There's C's on his way back from Kansas City. He'll be in tomorrow. Great show coming up. We'll talk Jeff Hamilton, little CFL offseason. I don't know if you saw it today. Andrew Harris, Bombers legend, now the running backs coach with Saskatchewan, coaching his former running mate, A.J. Willett. And Corey Mace was with the Argos. So Seems like a bit of a fit for Andrew Harris to come back to the CFL as a coach, but you don't want to see him with the Green Riders. Come on. Anyways, Jeff will touch on that, and Sean Reynolds on the Winnipeg Jets. So looking forward to that show. Tomorrow, Hassel's return. We'll hear a lot about the Chiefs as well. But we're going to talk some NFL right now. I am so pumped to be joined by Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports. And I caught up with Frank a little earlier today because I did see, I got the alert right now that Detroit Lions OC Ben Johnson is going to be the head coach of the division rival Chicago Bears. So that did not come up in our conversation, but I chatted with Frank about the divisional playoff round before the show. Frank, how was your weekend there watching the 4 divisional round matchups?
It was good. The wild card weekend was kind of a dud. I mean, there wasn't much good football, but this week was a lot better. A lot of storylines, a lot of good games. Very entertaining as we head into the Final Four of the NFL playoffs.
There's so many highlights you could mention. The Chiefs advancing to the 7th straight AFC championship. Rookie Jaden Daniels and the Commanders upsetting the number 1 Detroit Lions. The Eagles going back to the NFC, or the Bills win over the Ravens. Which one stood out to you the most from the divisional playoff round?
I think the biggest story to me was kind of the heartbreak of the Detroit Lions. I mean, to get to where they were, 15-2, and to get the 1 seed, to be 2 home games away from the first Super Bowl in franchise history, and then to just go one and done. That's just, I don't even know how fans of that franchise kind of process that. Like, they've waited so long for a team like this, have the 9th team in NFL history to win 15 games in a regular season, and then just go out like they did against the Commanders. That's just crushing. There's only 2 teams in NFL history that have won 15 games in a regular season and did not win a playoff game. 2011 Packers and now the 2024 Lions. And just crushing. I mean, you assume they're going to lose both coordinators to head coaching jobs. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are both in high demand. And everything changes from year to year. You play in a tough division. Nothing's guaranteed. You lose both coordinators. It's possible we look back in 10, 20 years and say that was the Lions' one shot at a Super Bowl. Now, they have great leadership. Their front office is really, really good. I like Dan Campbell, their head coach. They have a lot of good players. They might be back in this situation next year. We don't know, but that's the whole thing. We don't know. And that's what's really, really gutting for the Lions after that loss.
Yeah, the turnovers certainly didn't help there from Jared Goff, but on their opponent, Jaden Daniels, rookie with Washington Commanders. I mean, how impressive is this season? It seemed like he was battling some injury, during the year, but when he's healthy, I mean, he's ascending to one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and a chance here for them to get to the Super Bowl. The Washington Commanders, seems crazy to say.
It is crazy. 4-13 last year, and I don't think this roster is very good, honestly. Like, I look at this team, look at the depth chart, and I say they're still a couple of years away. Well, a couple of years away while making a Final Four. I mean, that is really, really impressive for the Commanders. And it's not all Jaden Daniels, but a lot of this is Jaden Daniels. He is, after last season, I said, we're not going to see a rookie season like C.J. Stroud come along again for a while. And it happened the next year. Unbelievably so. He has been better than advertised. He does everything. He's really good in clutch situations. He's obviously that dual threat that everybody's looking for now. And it's just been amazing to me how good he's been as a rookie. You just don't see this very often. And I always go back to Dan Quinn, who's first year as Commanders head coach. You get the sense that he came into this job, his second head coaching job, saying, I'm going to be more aggressive. I'm going to go for it on 4th down a lot more. I've changed my approach that way. But the fact that he does go on 4th down so often, I think is a reflection of how much trust he has in a rookie quarterback. They're sitting there going for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3, whatever 4th down situation. On the road in playoff games with a rookie quarterback, and you just never saw that. That was just never something that happened. But Jaden Daniels is completely different. The questions bubbling up of, is he the best quarterback in the NFC? I think he clearly is the best quarterback in the NFC right now. I don't know who I'd take over him. I guess, there's other good quarterbacks, Hurts and Stafford and Love, but I think I'd take Daniels right now. I think he's a top 5 or 6 quarterback in the NFL. He's the best rookie quarterback I've ever seen. And as we head into this NFC Championship game, I can't sit here and tell you the Eagles just have a pass into the Super Bowl. No, just because you're facing a rookie quarterback doesn't mean anything. This is special, what we're seeing right now with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, the Eagles currently favored -5.5 over the Commanders. And, I mean, the Commanders got absolutely no respect last week. I think would it end 9.5 for the Lions, and they won outright. So we'll see what happens. We'll get into the Eagles shortly, but you mentioned big disappointment in the Lions. Hard not to think of the Ravens, disappointing playoff finish again. Lamar Jackson, seemingly the turnovers coming up, short in the playoffs. They got Derrick Henry, after last year not running the ball. I mean, is this on Lamar? This one, can you put this on him? I mean, he seemed to do. It seemed like Josh Allen was perfect, and a couple mistakes, and they weren't able to overcome it.
Yeah, disappointing mistakes for Lamar Jackson, but I don't put this on him, and nor do I put it on Mark Andrews. When you lose a game like this by 2 points, when you outgain your opponent, I think there's just a lot of things that probably you would like to take back. I mean, Derrick Henry was great in this game. I didn't know if the offensive play calling was incredible that way. I would have liked to seen him get established a little bit more. There's a lot of Justice Hill in this game, who did play well, I'll say that. But a lot of this, you just lost to a good team on the road. I'm not going to sit here and go down the road of Lamar Jackson didn't get it done again. I thought that last drive by Lamar Jackson to get them in position to tie the game was fantastic. That's what you want to see out of an MVP quarterback, and he certainly rose to the moment there. And then you drop a 2-point conversion. I'm sure Mark Andrews is going to live with that all off season and probably beyond the next off season. But a lot of things play into a 2-point loss in the playoffs. Like it can't just be one play, one player, anything like that. But such a disappointment because this Ravens team really felt like maybe the best team of football after they had some losses early on. They were really unfortunate and weird. But I think that as they got really going, the defense improved a lot. Obviously, Lamar had an unbelievable season. Derrick Henry was exactly what they thought they were getting with him. I thought that this Ravens team could have been the best team of football, and in many ways outplayed the Bills. Again, they outgained them by a significant amount, but just didn't win the game. And it goes back to you can't blow those games against the Raiders in week 3 or whenever that was. You want to get home field advantage. You want to get the bye, put yourself in a little bit better of a position. And I think the Ravens will be back. They're just such a good organization. But again, you just can't depend on that. You can't sit there and say, we'll be back next year. We'll take another shot at it. Like I assume they will, but that's never a granted thing in the NFL. So really, really disappointing for Baltimore to lose the way they did.
Yeah, for Baltimore, you mentioned that loss to the Raiders. They lost to the Browns.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly some tough games there. And, you do look back, hey, they could have had home field, but wasn't there for them. And another disappointment. Looking on the other AFC side, the Kansas City Chiefs, is too much being made about the officiating and all the calls that, or the Chiefs, are they just a better team and they seem to execute better than everyone? And when it's a close game, which they seemingly are always in, they're able to come out on top.
Yeah, I don't buy into the officiating thing. Look, did officials make some bad calls? Yes. Do officials make bad calls in just about every game against every team? Yes. This is not some conspiracy. The NFL is not rigged. Does Patrick Mahomes get more calls than other players? Sure. Yeah, I think it's fair to say yes. So did Michael Jordan. So did Barry Bonds. Had a different strike zone than everybody else, right? Like, this is what happens when you're a really, really good player and you force the action. And so I'm just exhausted by the whole, like, every time there's a call that goes the Chiefs' way, that every single person on social media is just, the NFL is robbing every other team. It's not the way it goes. It's just not reality. This is a really, really good Chiefs team that just finds ways to win. They're a strange team. That this is not a dominant. You would think that a back-to-back Super Bowl champion Chiefs team that went 15-1 in the regular season, basically, before they sat everybody in Week 18. You would think this is just some dominant 1989 49ers type of run they're on, when it's really not. They got outgained again by the Texans in this game. In many ways, the Texans played better than them, I thought. But the Chiefs just find ways to win. It's a really, really strange season the Chiefs are having with all these close wins. Got another one on Saturday. But at some point you make your own luck, and the Chiefs having Mahomes and Andy Reid and a really, really good defense, and just being used to this stage, I think helps them so much. The officiating was part of the story on Saturday. There were some calls that just shouldn't have been made, but that's not why the Chiefs win. The Chiefs win because they're a really, really well-managed football team with an all-time great quarterback, and it shouldn't surprise anybody if they win a third straight Super Bowl. Even though it's never been done before, they put themselves in this position to go win another championship. And 7 straight AFC championship games is just unbelievable. Like, it should not happen in a modern NFL that one team can go to 7 straight conference championships. But here the Chiefs are, and no, it's not all about the officiating.
Yeah, I remember, years ago, everyone was hating the Patriots getting to all the Super Bowls. They were the one getting to LAFC, and everyone was cheering, hey, go Mahomes, go Chiefs. And it seems like it's flipped on its head, and people are not wanting to see Patrick Mahomes anymore, hating the Chiefs, saying, the NFL's rigged. But really impressive what they've done, coming off a bye, pulling Travis Kelce out of the garage for another playoff performance. Really, really incredible stuff there. You think, is this the year that the Bills, though, can finally get past them? They've been able to handle them in the regular season, but playoffs, bit of a different animal over the last couple of years when it comes to Bills-Chiefs matchups. And this year, it's in Arrowhead, and not like last year when they were hosting.
Yeah, and I mean, I like to see new blood in the Super Bowl, in any championship, in any sport, right? The teams that have been long-suffering to break through. So in that case, it would be nice to see the Bills make a Super Bowl finally after this long drought, chase their first championship. But and they have the team for it. They beat the Chiefs. I talked about the Chiefs being 15-1 in games they tried this year. Well, the one loss they had was to the Bills, but that happened in Buffalo. Totally different when you're in Arrowhead. You're facing all of this past you've had against the Chiefs, losing 3 times to them since Josh Allen became their quarterback in the playoffs. And I just wonder if there's some hex that the Chiefs have on them. And in addition to being a very, very good team, but there's a mental block there at the Bills maybe that it's hard to get past the Chiefs, just like it was hard to get past Jordan and the Bulls in the 90s to bring him up again. It's the same type of deal where you just wonder if you're ever going to do it. This Bills team could do it. Like they're really good all around. I dislike the narrative that, it's just Josh Allen playing with a bunch of nobodies, and that's why he should win MVP. This Bills team is pretty good. They don't get a lot of credit for it, but they're really a good roster around Josh Allen, and they proved it yesterday. Josh Allen didn't even play that well yesterday. He was fine. Like, he didn't make any mistakes, and he made some plays that they needed him to make, but 127 passing yards, 20 rushing yards. This was not just Josh Allen carrying everybody. This was a really good team effort. And if they could bring that to Arrowhead and Josh Allen does more of his Superman bit, they do have a chance to win, but it's just so hard to pick against the Chiefs. I did it all last postseason, and I was 0 for 4 picking against the Chiefs last postseason. And now I'm just like, it's almost inevitable that this is what Kansas City does. They're so good on this stage and so good at figuring out ways to win games that it's hard for me to sit here and say, yeah, the Buffalo Bills are going to break this jinx they have against the Chiefs, because Kansas City just keeps winning football games.
Yeah, and it's going to be close, but Kansas City always seems to find a way to make that one extra play and come up with a win. On the NFC side, we haven't touched on the Eagles. I know for anyone who was saying, running backs don't matter coming into this year, I mean, Saquon Barkley, he's been absolutely incredible. How important has he been to their success in getting back to an NFC championship?
I mean, it's been incredible. And I said on our podcast, Inside Coverage last night, that if the Eagles go on to win a Super Bowl, Saquon plays roughly as he has, let's say just 2 regular 100-yard games, not 205 like he did yesterday, but just a couple 100-yard games, and they win a Super Bowl, it might be the greatest running back season of all time. Like, I don't know how you wouldn't put that ahead of even O.J. Simpson, 1973, or some of Jim Brown's greatest seasons, or Eric Dickerson, 1984, or CJ2K when he set the yards from scrimmage record, or any season you could put in front of me. I think Saquon Barkley would top that if they go on to win a Super Bowl, because this is an Eagles team that really, really good defensively, but their offense just has no passing game right now. I don't know what happened to their passing game. It's bad, though. They had 121 net passing yards in round 1. They had 65 net passing yards yesterday. And look, I get it. The snow really hampered both teams, but they just have nothing going in the passing game right now, and they just ask Saquon to do everything, and he just breaks 60-yard touchdown runs like it's common, like it's regular, like you should be doing this when it's really uncommon. He means everything to that offense. And even when the opponent knows what's coming, I'm sure the Rams at some point realized Eagles can't pass the ball downfield. Jalen Hurts' knee is hurting, and he can't move very well. It's all Saquon Barkley right now, and they still couldn't stop him. And I just can't say enough about Saquon, one of the great free agent signings of all time, one of the great running back seasons of all time. And the Eagles have certainly put themselves in position to at least make a Super Bowl, maybe win one. And Saquon that's just a genius stroke from Howie Roseman to go sign him. To realize that, all those really kind of average looking seasons with the Giants was all due to the Giants just being a dysfunctional organization. Imagine how bad the Giants were to make Saquon Barkley look like just a normal everyday running back. Like he's an absolutely special talent. Giants couldn't get it out of him. The Eagles sure can. And he is carrying so much of the load for that team and might carry it all the way to a championship.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. You mentioned the weather, certainly more of a factor yesterday with the Eagles, Philadelphia snowing, Buffalo and Baltimore cold. Are these bad weather games good for the NFL? Is there anything that can be done, or is that just the reality of playing playoffs in January in some of these cold weather cities?
Oh yeah, that's just part of the game. You got to live with it. Although I get it, it looks awesome on TV, and we remember these games. But yes, the quality of play slips. I mean, when it's 3 inches of snow on the ground and guys can't even move really or pass the ball, or it's 20 below zero, like we saw Chiefs Dolphins last year, yes. and it's just impossible to function. I like to see the best teams play their best in the playoffs. It's not always going to be that way with the weather, and that's part of why home field advantage is so important. That's part of why, if the Rams didn't want to go play in Philly, well, you should have won more games. And you wouldn't have had to. So I just take it as part of the game. But yes, I'm one of the few who, I'm watching that second half of Eagles Rams yesterday, and it looks cool. Like there's no doubt about it. But I'm sitting there saying, I really wish I could see the Rams at their best today, because clearly they weren't. That offense really struggled for most of the second half. Oh, it still almost pulled out a win. And you just wonder, did the Rams lose to the Eagles, or did they lose to the snow? Like, and that I don't like it, but it's just part of the game. There's nothing to change about that.
I did get a kick out of seeing Bills defensive tackle Jordan Phillips wearing the winter coat under the jersey. I don't know if that has ever been done, but got to stay
warm somehow.
Yeah, got to stay warm. As we look ahead to championship weekend, what's the most exciting possible Super Bowl matchup that you're looking forward to seeing?
I really think, look, again, I don't want to hate on the Chiefs. They're a great dynasty. They're fun, but I like seeing new teams, right? And so I want to see the Bills. I think it would be really cool to see Josh Allen in a Super Bowl. Really cool to see Buffalo try to get that first Super Bowl. But I think the best story that could happen is Jaden Daniels making a Super Bowl, maybe winning a Super Bowl. We've just never seen anything like this. We've never seen a story of a 4-13 team drafts a quarterback second overall. He carries them all the way to a Super Bowl championship. This is some 1999 Rams stuff where I was very high in the Commanders in the offseason. You can go back and look. I have receipts where I was saying, I think the Commanders could be the surprise team in the NFL this year. I think they could make the playoffs. Never in my wildest dreams did I think they'd make an NFC championship game, and much less a Super Bowl. So we'd ask you, like, what I think the most fun matchup would be. I think it'd be Bills Commanders. It would be awesome just to see Jaden Daniels just on that stage as a rookie. It'd be awesome to see Josh Allen on that stage, may finally break through and make it. And it means it's probably going to be Chiefs Eagles. That's what's favored to happen. But I would like to see the underdogs make it. I just think it would be really compelling to see those two teams.
Yeah, certainly very exciting. People getting Chiefs fatigue certainly setting in here as well. On the field, we're watching all the games, but there's so much coaching vacancies to keep track of. I mean, what do you see happening with this Cowboys job? And I mean, can they ever get back to an NFC championship? They're the last team in the NFC to make it there. It seems like it's been just mediocrity since there.
Yeah, I mean, they're 15 years longer of a drought than any other NFC team, and as far as making conference championship weekend. I still think they're going to hire Kellen Moore. It just makes sense, but Brian Schottenheimer's name is bubbling up today, especially betting odds. Like he became a big favorite, which shocked me because Brian Schottenheimer would be such an underwhelming hire. Not that Kellen Moore is a exciting hire, but I think a little more juice of Brian Schottenheimer. But we just don't know. That's the thing. Jerry Jones could do anything. I wouldn't be that surprised by it. It's hard to predict what his next move is going to be. We know he really values being comfortable with a coach, knowing a coach, and maybe that does give Schottenheimer a shot. Definitely gives Kellen Moore a shot because he was offensive coordinator for a while. I don't know. I think the Cowboys should be going about this differently. I don't think they should just be relying on people they know. I think they should be looking at all various options. If they think Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator, is some genius play caller who might be the next Sean McVay, they should just open up the checkbook and say, what do you need? But that's not how Jerry does it. I don't know why. I don't get it. He has the most valuable franchise in all of sports in the world, and yet he seems to cheap out on coaches. I don't understand it, but I think that's going to happen again. And yeah, I still think it's going to be Kellen Moore, but the Brian Schottenheimer thing, especially at the odd shift in the betting market, just threw me for a loop and made me realize again that we just have no idea what's happening in Dallas right now.
Yeah, Jerry Jones seems to do things his own way, and we're looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. Frank, I can't thank you enough for your time here today. I really appreciate it. If you want to tell our listeners and viewers where they can find your work at Yahoo Sports.
Yeah, easiest place is just yahoo.com/NFL, but also on social media, X formerly Twitter at Yahoo Schwab. I'm always there, especially these next few weeks, talking about championship games, talking about Super Bowl. It's going to be a really fun end of the season.
Yeah, should be a couple of great games on next Sunday. Again, Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
There he is, Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports. Love talking a little NFL with Frank. Yes, everyone's got Chiefs fatigue, Kelsey fatigue. Unfortunately, a Hustler's going to be here, going to be tooting their horn all week. So looking forward to the games. Championship weekend, always some of the best football of the year. And there's two games, not just one. First up, though, we're going to bring back Connor, but I just want to give a shout-out to Fans First. We're going to get to some fan feedback here. Fans Feedback brought to you by Fans First, your best option for buying and selling tickets in Winnipeg with no fees. What you see is what you pay. Certainly the best place if you have, an extra pair of seats to get rid of them. I can tell you, as someone who's had to sell tickets on occasion, utilizing Fans First, so user-friendly. The customer service is great, and you're getting paid the next day right after the game. I know fans were busy buying and selling tickets, I think, for this season-long homestand. No doubt about that. There's a lot of hot takes in the chat right now about the Winnipeg Jets, and second-line center or defense. Here's Andrew Haleko. He says, Philly may be good one day, but it's really hard to see a fit here, as the conversation about who is in the lineup on defense on that bottom pair, a conversation all season. A lot of topics, a lot of chatter about Adam Lowry at 2C. Is Adam Lowry the long-term 2C as the team goes towards the playoffs and the trade deadline? Aristeel says Lowry's a proven point producer in the playoffs. He's a solid two-way guy, a playmaker, and he's big and he's tough. It don't get no better for a 2C. Leslie Michnick says Lowry isn't a prototypical second-line center, but he can open up space for more offensive players, and playing with an Ehlers-type player may increase Lowry's point totals. I have some time for this look. Specterling says, my take is that they still need to go out and add a true 2C that can produce. Lowry is a stopgap measure. And how about Bobby B closing the book? I've been told all year that Lowry was the 2C, but they just called it the third line. Everyone's got to take if Adam Lowry is, in fact, the team's second-line center. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling tickets by fans, for fans, with no fees. Hey, speaking of tickets, we're giving away a pair of Manitoba Moose tickets on our website. There's still some time left to get in there. winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. The game is on Thursday. We got a couple of our pairs, and Running Man in chat gifted me another bonus pair. So winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Let's get to Connor. He's been waiting so patiently here in the green room. Connor, I'm going to bring you in 1 second. I think you're right here. Connor, what's going on? How are you? How's it been?
I'm back. I'm doing well. It was a great show. Great conversation with Mike. Really enjoyed that one as he's down there in the Delta Center, and the story that I read on Olivia as well, and great insight from him on that.
Great insight. I wanted to ask you, Connor, Salt Lake City, the Jets playing the HC. Where does Salt Lake City rank for you as, cities where you want to travel to see an NHL game? I see Roy Mack in chat. Shout out to Roy Mack. He's at a bar outside Delta Center right now watching this show.
Nice. Very nice. I don't know where Salt Lake City would rank. Would it rank high for you, Remo?
Yeah, get some skiing in.
Oh,
go
true.
to a Jets game. Never been to Salt Lake. I'd love to pick. Roy's in chat right now. He says beers are $5 at whatever restaurant he's at. Now that is US. So yeah, what's that in Canadian? It's like 15, right? We're good at math. Yeah, 15 Canadian. Yeah. So I don't. I think Seattle. Like, I'm a big Mariners guy, so Seattle is up there for me. I think Vegas would be cool as well. Nashville, very very fun. I'd go to the HC if I can get some skiing in and go to a game.
For sure.
I think that's up there. I didn't know it say any East places. Like, I've never been to Montreal or Boston. You were just in New York.
Madison Square Garden. Yeah, that was cool. I will say Seattle was a building, ever since they built it, I've always wanted to go to Seattle and check out that rink. I've been to Vancouver, but not for a game, like for a concert. So I don't know if that counts. Inside the Rogers Arena or whatever they call it. Been to Madison Square Garden, but my bingo card is very, very unfilled at the moment in terms of NHL rinks. But Salt Lake City, getting some skiing in, that does sound fun. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, so I'm in for the HC. We'll have to see if I do make it out there in the future. I had some friends who were trying to talk me into go to this game. Hey, we'll hit the slopes on the weekend, then hit the Monday game. I don't know. Sounds like a pretty great trip to me. So maybe in the future. In the future, though, we are going to hear about Connor McDavid cross-checking Connor Garland in the face. Mark Spector saying it lasted 20 minutes. We're going to see McDavid, this goon, get suspended. He elbows Marcus Johansson in the head, gives him a concussion. Now he's cross-checking guys in the face. What's gotten into Connor McDavid here? Is he low-key dirty?
Dirty player? Like Connor McDavid or Matt Rempe, who's dirtier? No, I'm kidding. But the tweet I saw was Austin Matthews. I don't know if you remember, it was a Winter Classic game against the Buffalo Sabres, was tangled up with Rasmus Dahlin and then cross-checked him in the head. And that's like the exact same thing that happened with Connor McDavid. Like, he was tangled up with Connor Garland. He wasn't letting him go. The clock was winding down, and then he got up and cross-checked him right in the head. So I'm going to guess 2 games because it's a pretty similar play. It's not like the Morgan Riley, Ridley Gregg thing where he skates up to him like the length of the ice and cross-checks him in the head. Like, it's a pretty stationary play. So if I had to guess, I'm going to go with 2 games on this one. I didn't think that the elbow was necessarily like worthy of any kind of fine or suspension anyways. I think that was just a bad play. That should have been a penalty for sure on the ice. I don't even know if it was. But this play, I think he'll get 2 games. What do you think, Remo?
No, it's McDavid. He doesn't get suspended. He's the face of the league. They need to put butts in seats. Sorry, he's allowed to do whatever he wants out there. It's like Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. They need to protect him. So protect McDavid. They should have called some other penalties on some of the other. I mean, the guy touches the puck and he's getting whacked all over the place. Call some of that stuff. Maybe he wouldn't have to resort to defending himself, right?
Right. Yeah. He's just so angry at all this uncalled slashing penalties that he took it out on Connor Garland's head. Good call.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And fascinated about the Canucks. I did see management, Patrick Alvin talking today. There was a report over the weekend, maybe close to a JT Miller trade. And who was it? Darren Dreger was referencing Winnipeg media saying, talking about the similarities between the Canucks dressing room after that loss here to the Jets dressing room in the 2019 season where things went south for them. So I don't know, this Vancouver situation kind of hits close to home as we're following from afar, but I don't anticipate the Jets involved in any potential move there if there is a JT Miller trade.
Yeah, I have seen some people, throw out the potential of JT Miller coming to the Jets and him waiving his no move and that being the 2C acquisition. But Rick Bowness and Adam Lowry have done so much work here to kind of shape the culture into what it is now. I don't think the Jets are interested at all in bringing in anyone who's going to throw a wrench in that. So I just can't see it happening. Again, we can't speak for what is going on in that locker room, but clearly it's not going well and it's derailing the Canucks season. We saw them here on Tuesday night. Kyle Connor got that first period hat trick and they just quit. Like that game was over. They were already on the plane, end of a road trip. So I don't know. The Canucks, JT Miller, I'd stay away from that if I were the Winnipeg Jets because you've done a lot of good work to reshape the culture here in Winnipeg. Don't throw it all away by getting JT Miller. And hey, maybe he would help on the ice. He would be a viable 2C, but I don't think it's worth it at that kind of trade-off.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that the Jets know when they acquire a player to bring him, how are they going to be a fit in the locker room? I think Sean Monahan was the perfect target for them last year. And while, they didn't have the playoff success, I thought it was a good acquisition. He solidified the power play last year. It was a good second-line center. It parlayed that into a big contract with Columbus. The Jets were not willing to go that many years with him while they did try to re-sign him. So our eyes are to the rumor mill. We'll see what happens with the Jets as they approach the trade deadline. I do want to give a shout-out to an anniversary. On this day, 29 years ago, 1996, feels like yesterday to me, Connor. Fox debuted the Fox Tracks, a.k.a. the Glow Puck, during the All-Star Game. I think that was the San Jose All-Star Game. I don't know about you, Connor. I loved the Glow Puck. I thought it was so cool. It's glowing. When you take slap shots, it changes red. It showed the miles per hour. Very ahead of its time. I'll say this repeatedly on the show. I don't care. I loved it. I watched the Fox feed over the CBC feed for the All-Star Game for the Glow Puck, maybe because I was young. I thought it was cool. I'm not here for any of the naysayers. I think they should bring it back. Give me an option to turn it on my remote on the Amazon feed. They can do it now. I think it's super cool. Looked like a video game. And we got to see more of that. No one's getting mad at the first down line when you watch football. That's not actually on the field. Nobody's getting mad at the tracer when you watch golf, when it shows the shots. So I don't know why this thing gets so much hate. It was ahead of its time. Big Glow Puck guy.
I got to disagree. I have to. I mean, what if like we're on NFL now. What if every time the quarterback threw the ball, it was really like a little rocket and there was flames coming out of the back of it? Like
unreal. That's why I watched the Nickelodeon game. It was incredible. There's slime in the end zone. I loved it.
Right. If it's an option, like if Amazon Prime wins the broadcast rights here in however many years it comes up and they make it like an option, like you can toggle it on and off on Amazon Prime, then I'm in. But I don't think it should be the standard. I just want more board ads, Remo. Just more board ads.
Hey, we have board ads. Why not just spice up? And first of all, I love the Nickelodeon broadcast in the wild card round where they got slime in the end zone, SpongeBob all over the place. Loved it. So, yes, I want, if there's more cool video effects, Connor, when you're watching the game, it's too boring now, too regular. I need to see some augmented reality here. So we'll see. Exactly. I don't think we'll ever see it. People don't like it. I don't know. But anyways, here we got a number of lines tonight, number of games. It's actually a holiday in the U.S. today, so there are games going on right now. The Wild are winning 1-0 over Colorado. We have the We have Sabres at the Kraken. That's 0-0. But some other games tonight. Golden Knights hosting the Blues, minus 189. The Islanders hosting the Blue Jackets, minus 182. We have the Prime game tonight. Scheduling note, the Prime game, Amazon Prime, Lightning at Maple Leafs. That's at, what, like 6? Is that 6:30? What time? I don't know what time zone this is at.
6:30.
That is at 6:30 on Prime. And the Jets game is on TSN 3. That is at 8:30. The Jets, minus 175 favorites against Utah. You got any picks here on this Jets game? You want to look at the goal scoring prop? I don't know if there's going to be a parlay or anything, WST parlay. But Kyle Connor, he's the favorite, plus 135 to score.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Nikolai Ehlers, what is that? That number looks really small on my screen. I kind of like that duo.
215 for Ehlers. I like that.
I thought he looked really great on Saturday night. I thought that was the Jets' best line, and they're keeping it together. So I don't know. I goal scorers are fluky, but I kind of like Ehlers. He's been great.
I actually like that too. I like this line 2 on the road because the other team tries to key in and stop line 1, and maybe you get some good matchups. So there's no Adam Lowry. We talked a lot about Adam Lowry on this show. No Adam Lowry. Josh Morrissey plus 620. It seems high. He's got a bit of a cannon this year. Here, let's go over to the NFL. Eagles, Commanders. Eagles minus 5.5. Commanders getting no respect on the road for what they've done here, knocking off the number 1 seed. And how about the KC Chiefs? We spent so much time talking about them today, and we'll continue to talk about the Kelceys and Patrick Mahomes going forward, I'm sure, tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe are we even going to talk about the Jets game, or will Hustler just bask in the glow of the Chiefs? I guess it depends on the result of the game. But the Chiefs are minus 2 favorites. Who are you taking in these two here on First Look Monday?
Yeah, I was just going to say the Jets better win tonight so that it's not just 30 minutes of pure Kansas City sports talk tomorrow morning. But anyways, I'm taking the Bills. There's no sharpness to that play. I just hate the Chiefs. And then the Commanders and Eagles. I do find it interesting that the Eagles are still 5.5 points favorites. I know they looked great against the Rams. They won by 6, but the Commanders, just went in and beat the Lions. And Jaden Daniels is the real deal. So that'll be a really interesting game. I think that game could be a little bit closer. And usually you get 3 points for home field, and that's a 2-point spread in the Chiefs-Bills game. So that game will be really close as well, or at least Vegas is expecting it to be.
It really feels like people hate the Chiefs more than they hated the Patriots. That could just be recency bias, but it seems like the people just hate the Patriots because they're good. The Chiefs, while they're very good, they're not as explosive and exciting this year. We talked so much about DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown. Those guys did nothing in the game on Saturday, and you just see these roughing the passer calls, and you see, I don't know what the defense is supposed to do, and the Texans, I don't know, they said it was us versus the refs, so they knew that going in. That was their post-game mantra. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not taking a ton of responsibility for that one, but they gave him a run, not able to come out on top. And here we are, Bills Chiefs again in the championship game. Connor, thank you for stepping in today, stepping in Friday, doing a tremendous job on Sunday Live. So you can watch that after if you missed it, or Jets Weekly here on this channel and on this same podcast. We've got to get out because I got to put the podcast up. Comes up way more quickly on a new podcast host now. It comes out instant. Before it would take like half an hour before it showed up, and people would be sitting on their phone being like, where's my podcast? What's going on here? And then they stop listening. They forget about it. But now it's there. So tell your friends, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, because don't tell your friends. It tells YouTube. It's more important. Telling YouTube we're putting out good content, and maybe it'll shove it to the front of the algorithm, because that's what it's all about in 2025 now. The algorithm, the almighty algorithm. So I appreciate you coming on, Connor.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And if people haven't checked it out and you want more Winnipeg Sports Talk content, WST Sunday Live was joined by Liz and Jacob. We talked about the Calgary game and trade deadline stuff, and a lot of Logan Stanley talk if you're interested in that. And then Monday morning, or this morning, I guess today's Monday still. Winnipeg Jets Weekly came out, so go check that out if you want a recap of the last week and preview the upcoming schedule. Thanks for having me on, Remo. You did a great job hosting.
Thanks, you too. And I actually listened to Winnipeg Jets Weekly last night when I edited it to put it up because I needed to know I needed notes for the show. I needed a refresher on what happened and a good breakdown as I got ready for the upcoming week of Jets hockey. Utah tonight, Colorado Wednesday. Oh, and Utah again Friday. So get ready to know Utah HC. It'll be Connor Hrabchak starting for the Jets, and Connor Ingram is back in net for the hockey club. Well, for Connor, Michael Remis, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. Hustler will be back tomorrow with another fantastic edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. All right, thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.